There's a rose in the private place of the aloof school beauty. All the boys in the school pursued her crazily, just to get one step closer and behold the rose in full bloom. Everyone thought I would also try to curry favor with her to catch a glimpse of the flower, but I simply bought her virginity outright. Date me, and I'll cover all your mother's hospital bills. Thus, the penniless campus belle endured the humiliation and stayed with me for 5 years. My only requirement of her was that she sleep with me every day. But one day I stopped being intimate with her, broke the pattern, and no longer prevented her from secretly meeting her first love. She frowned, not knowing what trick I was up to again. What she didn't know was that I had awakened and realized I was in a novel world, and that my role as a decadent, rich second generation was nothing more than the vicious male supporting character. She was the female lead, and her first love was the male lead. According to the original plot, the now impoverished, aloof campus belle will soon rise to the top, and my fate will naturally be to die miserably on the streets. To survive, I must completely disappear from the eyes of the male and female leads. So, I leveraged my connections to find an authoritative agency, planning to escape by faking my death. Mr. Ethan, everything for the fake death has been prepared. As you instructed, it can successfully commence in half a month. A staff member in a suit handed the contract to me. I glanced at it casually, not paying much attention. Does the deceased look like me? The other party immediately took out a photo. You can rest assured on that point. We have professional plastic surgery techniques. After the accident, no one will be able to notice anything. Comforted by their assurance, I relaxed, paid the deposit, and turned to leave. Driver Mike had been waiting at the door for quite some time. He drove me back to the villa. This place was something I had bought specifically for Sophia. Not long after we entered, the door was pushed open by a slender, jade-like hand. The woman wore a black lace camisole, nothing beneath it, exposing a large swath of pale skin. Her flawless figure was thus unmistakably revealed, though her aura remained cool and aloof, her face without a trace of extra expression. She toyed with the strap, the last piece of clothing sliding down her feet, then strode toward me. The next moment she pressed tightly against me, and I could only feel a soft warmth from her embrace releasing a faint, delicate fragrance. Not this time. I wrenched free from her embrace and said no. A flicker of confusion crossed Sophia's eyes, her delicate brows knit slightly. As if she couldn't understand my sudden oddness, she said coolly, "What? Are you tired of doing it with me every day? Wasn't that your condition?" "Don't worry, I won't go back on my word. It's just, I'm not in the mood right now." I turned my head and muttered a couple of casual words. Sophia seemed to have brushed off her worries and didn't make an issue of it. "I have something to do, I'll get going." She was at a crucial stage of starting her business and was indeed very busy. But I had expected her to be busy all night, as usual. Unexpectedly, after receiving a message from a foreign social app, she hurried out of the study with a worried expression. "If you don't want it tonight, then I'm leaving." Her voice was as cold as ever, only now with an added note of urgency. I, of course, knew Sophia was thinking of her first love, Leo. I didn't call it out, merely waved dismissively. Seeing me like this, she grew even more puzzled, but there was no time to think further. As she brushed past me, I suddenly spoke. "Sophia, you don't have to do this anymore." She suddenly stopped walking, and a hint of impatience already appeared between her cool brows. I suddenly smiled and gave up explaining, "Go," until her figure disappeared. The empty room left only me whispering softly, "You'll be free soon. You don't have to make things hard for yourself anymore." As an arrogant, rich second generation, I have done many outrageous things. Most deeply, I bought a girl's youth with money. During university, Sophia was universally recognized as the aloof campus belle, the goddess countless boys dreamed of day and night. She rejected everyone, but of all people I fell in love at first sight. After investigating, I learned that Sophia came from a poor family. Her mother was gravely ill, and she was scrimping and saving and working part-time just to pay for medical expenses. I made a deal with her. For her mother, Sophia had no choice but to agree to be my girlfriend, live with me, be intimate with me, until she grew tired of it. But for 5 years, from university into society, her mother's illness didn't improve, and I didn't get tired of her. We still maintained the same relationship. Although Sophia had always been cold toward me, at that time, I remained convinced I could win her over with sincerity. Until an accident, I suddenly awakened, and I knew everything about what would happen next. Half a month later, Sophia succeeded in starting her business, but that was only the beginning. Afterward, her fame exploded, she rose steadily, and ultimately reached the pinnacle of business. And after succeeding, the first thing she did was return every single dollar I'd spent on her down to the last cent, and then break up. I refused, kept pestering her, and even in the end laid hands on her most cherished first love, Leo, only to end up ruined and disgraced. I don't know why I was so stupid. This is an outcome I absolutely cannot accept. A line kept repeating in my memory. The male and female leads are destined to be together. After suddenly waking up to the truth, I resolved to change my own ending. As for my future in a woman, I naturally knew how to choose. Sophia didn't return all night. The next day I woke up early and went downstairs to have breakfast. The villa was silent, broken only by the sound of my slow, deliberate chewing. After a moment, the butler approached. "Mr. Ethan, all the servants have been dismissed, and I'm ready to return to Mr. Arthur's side." I nodded and handed him a letter. The letter detailed my plan to fake my death and my intentions to assume a new identity and travel to the Western country. I told him not to worry. When the time is right, I will return. I had thought about taking them with me, but there were too many complications and the family business is here. So, in the end, I had to give up. Moreover, this was also to avoid arousing Sophia's suspicion. After that, I went to the hospital to visit Sophia's mother. Although I was overbearing, I never had an aloof attitude, and I had always shown great respect to Sophia's mother. Compared to Sophia, her mother liked me a little more. "Ethan, you and Sophia aren't getting any younger. It's time to get married." Hearing that, I couldn't help but shake my head and give a wry smile. How could we possibly get married? Knowing the original story well, I already understood that Sophia loved only Leo. As the female lead, she was destined to be with the male lead. And I, Ethan Johnson, was nothing more than an irrelevant supporting character helping them unite. Seeing me silent, Sophia's mother seemed to think it was her daughter's fault and spoke up to comfort me. "Sophia can be a bit stubborn. I know she's bothered by the fact that your motives weren't pure when you two first got together. It upset her, which is why she's been slow to accept it." I said nothing, only smiled, then handed Sophia's mother a card. "Madam, please take care of your health. When you have time, could you pass this card on to Sophia for me?" The money in the account was a sum of startup capital I had prepared for her years ago. I had originally hesitated because I was worried about hurting her pride. Now I already know everything, so consider it some compensation for me before I leave. Sophia's mother froze, as if sensing something, and asked with concern, "Ethan, did you two have a fight again?" "No, it's just that I'm going on a business trip for a while." I shook my head and explained. But at that moment, a cold voice suddenly came from behind. "Where are you going on your business trip?" I snapped my head around. My gaze met Sophia's, who stood in the doorway with a cold expression. And beside her stood a man, Leo. I looked away and said offhandedly, "Just went out of town to take care of the business my father entrusted to me." Sophia's brow eased slightly. She didn't press further and instead very naturally sat down next to her mother with Leo. Just like that, without a sound, I was squeezed into the corner of the room. "Aunt, tell Sophia to stop. She won't even let me have a milk tea. How stingy." Leo pouted in grievance, immediately starting to complain as soon as he sat down. "You forgot the last time your stomach pain sent you to the hospital, and you even said you'd never drink again." Although Sophia's words were peppered with reproach, her eyes were full of indulgence. Leo smiled faintly and stuck out his tongue. Watching their harmonious interaction, I shook my head and gave a rueful chuckle. Scenes like this were not the first time in my memory. But this time, there was no ripple in my heart. nor any hint of sorrow. I had already let go of all my love for Sophia and decided to give her back to the male lead. Sophia's mother seemed to sense my awkwardness. After glancing at her daughter, she spoke at the right moment. "Ethan, Sophia, go wash some fruit for me." When Sophia's mother spoke, neither of us could refuse, so we carried the fruit basket and left the ward one after the other. I hadn't taken 2 steps before Sophia grabbed my hand. I was a little surprised. She would actually make the first move to touch me. But the next moment, cold words echoed in my ear. "Our relationship is strictly transactional. Don't come bothering my mother and her peace." I froze for a moment. This time, I offered no explanation, only a cold sneer. "Don't worry, this is the last time." Having said that, I turned and walked away straight toward the restroom. If it were before, I would have waited for her and walked beside her. Watching my retreating figure, Sophia suddenly felt a strange sensation rise in her heart. She noticed that since yesterday, I had suddenly changed. After washing the fruit, Sophia and I returned to the ward. After chatting for a bit, we prepared to leave. "Sophia, Ethan, it's getting late, let's go eat." As soon as we left the hospital, Leo was the first to speak. Sophia would never refuse Leo's suggestion. For me, she perhaps didn't want me to make things difficult for him. Before I could speak, she directly agreed on my behalf. When we got to the restaurant, Sophia took the menu and ordered nothing but the dishes Leo liked. Maybe loving and not loving is just that obvious. Even though I had taught her my preferences before, indifference and sincerity are always completely different. But I had long expected this outcome, so I wasn't disappointed. I just ate in silence. But then a ringtone shattered the silence. I picked up my phone and started to walk out, and when I turned my head, I froze at the sight of the necklace slightly visible on Leo's neck. "Where did you get that necklace?" Leo glanced down at it without realizing, then smiled. "Sophia gave this to me. I thought it was nice, so she gave it to me." Hearing that, my expression instantly darkened. That necklace was something I took a long time to choose, a gift I decided to give Sophia on the anniversary of our relationship. I poured all my love into it, but in her heart it meant nothing, and she casually gave it to Leo. A nameless fury rose in me, but thinking of the plot in the book, I instantly calmed down. Sophia had always liked Leo, so of course she wouldn't care about my things. By now, everything should just take its course. I restrained my expression and showed a faint smile. "Not bad, very pretty." Leo perhaps still thought I would be angry. Seeing me so calm and utterly unconcerned, he was taken aback. His eyes narrowed, and he quickly stood up to ladle a bowl of soup for me. "Don't just eat. This chicken soup's good, you should try some." I hate chicken broth, so I waved my hand to refuse. Leo flicked his wrist, and the bowl and soup crashed to the floor, making a shattering sound. Leo looked wronged, his eyes rimmed red. I hadn't figured out what he was doing when Sophia whisked him to her side like a gust of wind, then turned her cold gaze on me. "What do you think you're doing?" Leo stood to the side with red eyes, looking wronged. "Sophia, I was the one who made Ethan angry. I'm fine, I just burned my hand, it's okay." I didn't. I wanted to glare and explain as he twisted things, but Sophia paid no attention, gave me a cold stare, left with a single unreasonable, and walked away. In the following days, Leo found this trick worked very well and repeatedly framed me. One day, it was that I got him fired. The next, it was that I had him blacklisted, and he even claimed I threw paint on his house, making his life in turmoil. Sophia finally couldn't hold back, and when she got home, she grabbed my collar in a fury. "Take it out on me if you have to. Why have you been singling out Leo?" We'd been together 5 years, and Sophia had always been cold toward me. Today was the first time I saw any other emotion in her eyes, and it was to stand up for Leo. "I'm not singling him out. None of this has anything to do with me." I pushed her away and spoke even more calmly. "Who else could it be but you? You can even buy a girlfriend with dollars. What can't you do? This must not happen again. You've taken everything from me. Couldn't you at least leave the people important to me alone?" Having said that, Sophia was full of disappointment, refused to speak with me further, and walked straight into the room. Looking at her back, I knew that in her heart, I was still the least trusted. Putting sadness aside, what remained most was unease. In these last few days, I only wanted to pass the time peacefully. I had no energy to play their little games. I tossed and turned in bed until I finally thought of a plan. That very night, I drove straight to Leo's house. Pushing the door open, the first words I said were, "Leo, from now on we'll coexist peacefully. I'm going to set you up with Sophia." At those words, Leo widened his eyes in disbelief. "What did you say?" Leo knew how much I loved Sophia. Otherwise, why would he willingly pay 5 years' worth of hospital bills in US dollars for Sophia's mother? And after being met with Sophia's coldness time and time again, he still willingly stayed by her side? But now, I'm the one who seeks him out and even tries to set the two of them up? I shook my head at his confusion. "I'm sincere about making peace with you. You don't need to scheme against me with those little tricks. I don't have much time left. I'll leave Sophia when the time comes. You don't have to treat me like a romantic rival." I spoke earnestly, in no way like someone who was lying. Leo still didn't believe me, worried it was a trick. Whether he believed me or not, I had already begun to put into action. The next day, I stopped Sophia as she was leaving and handed her the concert tickets. "I bought tickets for tonight. Come with me. I'm busy with work every day." Sophia's eyes turned cold, but before she could finish refusing, I interrupted her. "You agreed back then that besides spending every day with me, you can't refuse any other requests." That single sentence shut down everything she wanted to say. Sophia frowned, took the ticket, and her steps quickened as she walked away. Watching her figure gradually disappear, I took out my phone and dialed Leo's number. I didn't exchange pleasantries. I got straight to the point. "I sent the tickets. I guess you've already received yours. I gave the other one to Sophia. Take the opportunity to build your relationship with her." Leo hadn't expected that I was actually matchmaking them. Half believing, half skeptical, he still gave a short Just as I was about to hang up, he spoke again. "Why help me?" The question reached my ears. After a long silence, I chose not to answer. "You don't need to know. Just follow our agreement. Set you two up and stop framing me." After hanging up, I stared at my phone as it slowly locked. I never intended to help Leo. I was helping myself. Besides, Sophia likes Leo. I was only speeding up the plot, also leaving myself a way out. As the sky darkened, I received a message from Leo. It was a photo of the two of them. Leo looked at the camera, Sophia looked at Leo, and her eyes were full of warmth and sweetness, an expression that would never appear when she was with me. I continued flipping through the photos. In one, the background seemed to be a restaurant. On the table were discarded shrimp shells and shrimp meat, piled in front of Leo. Thinking back over all these years, I had always been the one to peel the shrimp. This was undoubtedly everything I had once longed for day and night. After pondering for a long time, I replied with one message. Perfect match. Leo thought I had ulterior motives for doing this, so he deliberately sent photos to provoke me. But when he saw the blessing I sent, Leo was completely perplexed. The input box lit up for a long time. After countless revisions, he finally typed out one sentence. "Is everything you said true? Arrange for me and Sophia to get together." This time, I didn't hesitate. "Yes. From now on, Sophia is yours." I thought Sophia would be happy to come home, but when she pushed the door open, she still had that cold expression, and there was a hint of anger hidden in her words. "What do you mean by that? What are you trying to do again?" I was puzzled, but still offered an explanation. "Oh, I had something come up, so I gave a ticket to Leo." After speaking, I continued. "How was it today? Was the concert good? If you didn't enjoy it enough, I still have tickets. You can go again." Sophia couldn't fathom my intention. She stared at me intently for a long time, while I looked at her with sincere eyes, as if I truly had no time, and that's why I gave the tickets to Leo. In the end, she still conceded and walked into the bedroom. This success, this time, created more opportunities for the two of them afterward. For example, she and I went to a restaurant to eat, and just as we sat down, Leo appeared before us, all smiles. Sophia, what a coincidence. Before he could speak, a waiter stepped forward. Dear guests, today is our restaurant's anniversary. You are our 520th couple. Your meal is free, and we'll give you matching couple rings and take a commemorative photo for you. As soon as the waiter finished speaking, I stood up immediately. I feel very unwell. I have to leave. Seeing me stand up, Sophia also tried to follow, but I immediately turned to look at her. Don't waste a chance to win. Sophia, you and Leo should go. I said that, and without waiting for Sophia to react, I strode out of the restaurant, leaving Sophia frozen in place and Leo excitedly pulling her along to pick up the diamond ring and take photos. Or take a friend's gathering, for example. I insist on bringing Sophia along, only to find that Leo is there too. After it was over, I took the initiative to push Leo in front of Sophia. It's getting late. I'm not comfortable with him going home by himself. You drive him back. I still have things to do. All right. No need to rush home either. He's had a lot to drink. Take better care of him. As soon as I finished speaking, I shoved the car keys into her hand and walked away. After several rounds, she began to notice something was off, because she kept encountering Leo in all sorts of situations and at all kinds of times. And each time I would leave, giving the two of them space to be alone. It felt as if she was trying to push herself onto Leo. A few days later, Sophia came home very late from working overtime. Seeing me lying on the bed, she assumed I was asleep and silently went straight to the bathroom. The splashing of water suddenly started. I snapped my eyes open. Glancing at the closed bathroom door, I hurriedly picked up my phone and dialed a number. Come to my house right away. 15 minutes later, Leo knocked on the villa door. I quietly opened the door and handed him the silk pajamas I had already prepared. Put on the pajamas and go to the master bedroom. When Leo heard me, he glanced at the pajamas and seemed to realize something. He looked very nervous, as if his heart was about to leap out of his chest. I urged him again before he came to his senses, went upstairs to change, and then laid down on the bed. Just as Leo lay down, the bathroom door was pulled open and Sophia, wrapped in a towel, stepped out. She looked up and let her gaze fall on the bed, feeling a bit stunned when she saw that figure. Maybe realizing it had been too long since they carried out their agreement, she strode forward and, quite naturally, wrapped her arms around him from behind, her voice laced with flirtation. My special period is over. Before Leo could react, he felt waves of hot breath coming from behind, each inhale and exhale brushing his neck, and a soft hand had appeared at his waist. The scorching body made him tremble uncontrollably, and his breathing gradually grew rapid. A soft laugh behind me, followed by a string of kisses landing on his neck and behind his ear. How could Leo withstand such provocation? He let out a muffled groan. At that sound, Sophia's movements froze. She sprang up, utterly shocked, and exclaimed, "Leo?" In the living room, Sophia sat on the sofa while Leo sat next to her under a blanket, looking embarrassed. Her expression darkened, and her gaze fixed on me. Why is Leo here? I didn't expect her to find out so quickly and felt a bit guilty, but I still casually brushed it off. There was a power outage in his apartment complex, so he came here to stay. Then why is he sleeping in the master bedroom? Sophia obviously didn't believe me and continued to press. I hesitated a little, but still answered, "Isn't the guest room unprepared? I thought he'd just stay overnight, so I let him sleep here." There was a faint anger in her eyes, and her chest heaved up and down. She was clearly very upset. She didn't believe me. Right now, she just wanted to take Leo home. She swallowed her anger and, without a word, pulled Leo away. By the time Sophia returned, I had already gone back to my room. Right now, it was just the two of us in the room, and Sophia could no longer hold back her anger. She had noticed for some time that something was off with me, and now she simply couldn't control herself anymore. What on earth do you want? Do you intend to keep tormenting both of us in this way? Her blunt words stunned me. I never would have guessed she thought this of me. I just wanted you to. I was about to lay everything out, but thankfully reason pulled me back and I didn't blurt it all out. Her gaze was dark, as she continued. What did you want? Keep talking. After a long silence, I spoke again, but didn't continue answering her. Isn't this exactly what you wanted? My words became the final straw that set her temper aflame. You're always so self-righteous. Sophia left the bedroom, saying that coldly, her voice low and heavy. Watching her walk away, I seemed to understand. After all, she's mine now. By her own rules, no matter how much she likes Leo, she naturally wouldn't sleep with him. Fortunately, in 2 more days, it will be completely over. The day of leaving gradually approached. I dug out everything in the room related to Sophia. What could be burned, I burned. What could be thrown away, I threw, and I cleaned everything out. I tossed one love letter after another into the fire. My thoughts seemed to go back to the past. Actually, at first I courted Sophia like anyone else. I even spent 4 months writing countless love letters to her, but each one ended the same way, with her rejection. Later, when I saw how much pressure she was under, I thought of this method, feeling it could both help her and allow me to get what I wanted. Maybe I was mistaken. True love can't be bought with dollars. The novel even said that the heroine Sophia only loves the male lead Leo. At that thought, there was nothing left to linger for, and I casually tossed the last letter into the fire as well. Just then, the door happened to be opened by Sophia. She looked up and saw the envelope I had just thrown into the fire. Although she hadn't read its contents, she was strangely familiar with its appearance. It was I who had once personally delivered it to her, only to have it heartlessly rejected. She felt her heart skip a beat, and the questioning words escaped her lips. What are you doing? Through the firelight, I saw Sophia's stunned face and felt puzzled, but after a moment, I still answered her, burning all the useless things. Sophia was somewhat flustered. She clearly sensed the change in me and what I was doing. She didn't really want to oppose me, but once the words were out, she became unreasonably insistent. True, you already have everything you wanted, so these naturally became useless. Before, Sophia often mocked me, and each time I felt very sad. But this time, my heart was left only with calm. It's about to end. Sophia found my lack of direction inexplicable. Not knowing what I was doing, she didn't linger and went straight upstairs. I sat there without moving, watching with wide eyes as the great fire swallowed the last bit of ash into the earth. Sophia, from now on, forget this memory, forget me, the supporting male character. We will both begin new lives. The next day, as Sophia was about to go out, I called after her. Tomorrow is our 5th anniversary. I booked a restaurant. Let's go have a meal. Sophia frowned slightly. She didn't refuse, only gave a cold, perhaps because there was some anticipation. The day felt like it passed very quickly. The day we had agreed on was also the day I faked my death and left. I made an effort to dress up before going to the agreed restaurant with Sophia. The restaurant had a great atmosphere. The lights shone on the table, creating a warm ambience. When Sophia saw the scene before her, a trace of something unusual crossed her eyes. However, before long, a ringtone shattered that quiet. Sophia glanced at her phone. It was Leo. She frowned and chose to answer the call. Leo's voice came through, choked with tears. Sophia, I was in a car accident. Can you come to the hospital to see me? At those words, Sophia's frown deepened. She turned to look at me, and I set down my knife and fork as well. I heard you. Do you really want to go? She didn't hesitate anymore. Any day can be an anniversary. Leo needs me more. I didn't continue speaking. I just kept staring at her. Her heart was racing. She had always been very calm, but this time she was unusually tense. She added, "We'll make up for this anniversary next time." No sooner had the words left my mouth than I grabbed my phone and hurried away. Watching her anxious back, I did not stop her. After a long while, I murmured to myself, "Sophia, there will be no next time for us." I finished my meal alone, watching the sky darken outside the window, when Secretary Claire entered the dining room. "Mr. Ethan, everything is ready." Hearing the voice, I didn't turn around, simply giving a faint hum. I stood up, cast one last look at the places where Sophia and I had shared so many good times, then headed straight for the airport. Sophia, this time, I will personally send you back to the leading man who belongs to you, and I will permanently go offline from your world. Sophia returned to the villa 2 days later. She wore a smile. Leo's wounds had healed. The long-running project had succeeded, and she had finally stood on her own feet. No longer the poor student who sold herself to her mother to earn money for medicine. She brought the project bonus in US dollars, intending to give it back to me when she saw me. Once our debts are paid off, she can hold her head up straight in front of me. When Sophia pushed open the door, the room was empty and silent. I always waited for her to return in the living room. This time, however, there was no sign of her. Thinking of her unusual behavior lately, she felt a vague unease. She wasn't sure and reached for her phone to send a message, but a news item appeared on the homepage. 2 days ago, a car accident and explosion occurred on the outskirts. One person was seriously injured and, after being taken to the hospital, succumbed despite resuscitation. Police have confirmed the identity as Ethan, the only son of Johnson, the richest man in Ziching. That brief piece of information struck Sophia like a bolt of lightning. She couldn't believe it, frantically scrolling through the photos. She seemed desperate to find proof that the corpse was not Ethan. The more she looked, the more alarmed she became. The corpse's build and clothing were exactly the same as Ethan's. Is he dead? No. She had to go see for herself. Unless she saw it with her own eyes, she wouldn't believe Ethan could be dead like that. Sophia staggered out. It was only a few steps to the door, but her legs went weak and she fell several times. She wanted to drive to the police station, but her hands trembled and she couldn't even hold the keys, so she had no choice but to take a taxi. They arrived at the police station quickly. Sophia felt a momentary panic. She couldn't believe it. If that corpse really was Ethan, what would she do? "Ma'am, we've arrived at your destination. You need to get out." The driver saw her expression in the rearview mirror. Since the destination was the police station again, he assumed she had made a mistake and was about to turn herself in. Sophia didn't notice her changing expression herself. It wasn't until the driver urged her that she snapped back to her senses and got out of the car. After explaining the purpose of her visit, a police officer led her to the morgue. When the door opened, the first things that met her eyes were Mr. Arthur and Ms. Margaret, their eyes swollen and red, clearly having just cried their hearts out. They saw the letter Ethan had written and learned that Ethan had faked his death to leave here, but they still couldn't help but blame Sophia. If not for her, Ethan wouldn't have had to go as far as faking his death. When Sophia saw this scene, all her thoughts collapsed in an instant. She couldn't take another step and didn't dare look at the corpse right in front of her. Ethan's ashes were taken away by Mr. Arthur and Mrs. Margaret to be buried, but Sophia grabbed them back halfway. At first, Mr. Arthur and Mrs. Margaret made a fuss and refused to let go no matter what, each confrontation ending with, "I won't give up the ashes unless I'm dead." Sophia moved out of their former villa, and while packing she discovered that everything representing the memories between the two of them had disappeared. Thinking back to Ethan's earlier strange behavior, although the car accident was ruled an accident, she stubbornly believed it couldn't have been accidental but was premeditated. Only then would Ethan have refused any closeness with her and try to shove her toward Leo. In the room, Sophia sat on the floor holding the urn, a knocked-over bottle beside her, her eyes full of remorse and sorrow, mocking herself for how she'd acted toward Ethan before. At first, Ethan's feelings were obvious. Why couldn't she notice? Another gulp of strong liquor slid down her throat. Gradually, the pain spread through her body. With her eyes closed, she touched the urn and saw Ethan appear before her. "Ethan!" Sophia sank deeper into her dream. Suddenly, the bedroom door was pushed open and light spilled into the dim room, making her squint as she tried to make out the person standing there. Leo saw the state of the room, panic all over his face, quickened his steps to her, trying to take the thing from her arms and help her up. Sophia. The name cut straight to the point, prompting her to recognize the person before her. She instinctively moved away from him and hugged the object tightly to her chest. Her wary gaze pained Leo. Seeing her haggard face and bloodshot eyes, his voice softened. Sophia, you'll collapse if you keep going like this. Put it down for now. Let's go to the hospital, okay? Hearing his words, her eyes shifted. She looked at Leo and said very calmly, "You knew, didn't you?" From Sophia's voice, one could hear a hint of accusation. She knew Ethan had already decided to leave, and yet he had kept her in the dark. Leo was stunned by her question. It took him a long moment to understand what she meant. He instantly looked aggrieved and said softly, "Sophia, I didn't know. That time Ethan sought me out himself, saying he wanted to make an agreement." An agreement? What kind of agreement? Sophia had seized on the key point. Her gaze turned icy as she looked at Leo, a look he had never seen before, and his clenched hands unconsciously relaxed. In the end, he confessed the truth under that piercing gaze. Finally, he still didn't forget to plead for himself. "Sophia, it's because I like you so much, but in the end I really didn't mean to target him. Sophia, the two of you were forced by him in the first place, and you don't love him. Now he's dead and you're free. Shouldn't you be happy?" No sooner had the words left his mouth than Sophia's hand clamped down on his neck. "Who told you I don't love him?" Leo's eyes turned bloodshot from the grip. He couldn't speak. Tears filled his eyes, big drops rolling down and falling on her wrist. Only then did she come to her senses and abruptly release him. After a long moment, Sophia turned away and tucked that coldness back in. "Let's go. Don't let me see you again." Sophia didn't understand why she felt upset when Leo cried, but she knew she didn't love him. Otherwise, she wouldn't have gone after him just now. It was like before, when she repeatedly lost her mind because of him and time and again neglected Ethan because of him. She didn't want to be at odds with Ethan every time, but she always put on a stubborn front and unconsciously changed her meaning. She couldn't see through her own heart, nor could she control her words and actions. Until Ethan died, and the veil that had covered her heart was lifted, she finally saw through herself and couldn't understand her previous behavior. At that moment, guilt slowly spread from the depths of her heart to the surface. For years later, at a cafe located on the outskirts of the Western District, ding, my phone rang, and I saw the extra balance in the message. I finally couldn't help but dial number. "Mom, Dad, I know you're worried about me. I'm fine. I open a cafe off campus. The income is steady. Don't keep worrying about me. I was helpless. For years ago, I changed my name to Evan Johnson and came here. My parents worried I wasn't doing well, so over the years they've sent me countless dollars. I decided to use the money to open a cafe, and over such a long time I've been living quite comfortably. Although I'm in the West, I've been keeping up with news from Zicheng. I'm well aware of what happened in these 4 years. Sophia's mother died, and it was the day before Sophia became a business elite. It's a pity I didn't see her one last time. After all, I couldn't show up. Sophia is excellent, just as the original story wrote. I've been steadily reducing all contact with Zicheng. If she found out, all my efforts would be for nothing. The only puzzling thing is that in the original plot she would have been with Leo by now, but the information says she was single for 4 years. She carried my urn with her every day. Those around her said she was very devoted, but I always felt she had ulterior motives. Thinking this, I couldn't help shivering. Suddenly, a voice came from behind. I turned instinctively and met those familiar eyes. "Boss, a cup of cotado, please." The familiar voice, I could recognize whose it was even with my eyes closed, made my heart jolt. I hung up the phone and stood frozen in place. "Boss!" Sophia deliberately raised her voice and called out. I had panicked and cut the call off, feeling a bit regretful. I always knew that if I contacted her enough, she would eventually learn I wasn't dead. I hadn't expected her to find out so quickly. It took me completely by surprise. I forced myself to stay calm, pointed at the closed sign, and lowered my voice. "We're closed today, not taking guests." Sophia chuckled softly, picked up the sign, and showed it to me. "Open for business." A few big characters appeared before my eyes. Doesn't a closed sign only count if customers can actually see it? Only then did I realize I had forgotten to flip the sign over. My face fell. I took the sign and rehung it. That's enough. Ma'am, Morning Light Cafe is closed. If you want coffee, please go to another shop. With that eviction order given, I lower my head and busy myself with my own things, but the person in front of me still refused to leave. I was about to speak again when Sophia beat me to it. Boss, you look very familiar to me. My body went rigid and my movements slowly stopped. In the quiet, it seemed as if I could only hear my own heartbeat. She looked at my face, not daring to jump to conclusions. After all, she had seen the ashes that belonged to me. Was it really Ethan, or just a similar passerby? To dispel her doubts, I joked, "Ma'am, don't you think this way of hitting on someone is kind of cheesy?" "No, that's not what I meant." She didn't hesitate, anxiously trying to prove something. I only wanted her to leave this place, and, as a result, didn't listen carefully to what she said. I just kept driving her away. Having no other choice, she decided to back down. "Boss, will you be open for business tomorrow?" When I saw her give in, I finally breathed a sigh of relief. After hesitating for a moment, I was afraid she'd notice, and not hiding would also make her suspicious. After thinking for a bit, I said, "The school's on break these 2 days. There aren't many guests, so they might not open." The refusal reached her ears, but she read it differently. She went on to say, "You mean they'll open if there are more guests?" As soon as she finished, I couldn't help glancing up at her for a moment, then quickly looked down. "There are plenty of places nearby to get coffee. You don't have to wait here." I don't know what happened to Sophia these past 4 years. Now she's become difficult. I tucked away my doubts. She was still standing there waiting for my answer. I sighed and nodded, and only then did she leave with a face full of smiles. I couldn't make sense of the whole scene. It wasn't until her figure disappeared that I called my parents back. It connected quickly. "Evan, what just happened?" "Sophia found me." "Mom, Dad, what's been going on these past few years?" "I feel like she's changed." I rubbed my temples. This situation gave me a headache. There was a brief silence over there. Then my father tentatively asked me why I had faked my death. For years later, when he asked again, I did not hide anything and recounted the matter like a dream. At first, my parents disagreed. It wasn't that Sophia was poor, nor that she wasn't good enough for me. They simply felt that Sophia didn't love me. If I forced her, I would end up suffering. I am the son they carefully raised. They couldn't bear to see me knowingly suffer if they knew how it would end. At that time, I was stubborn and unchanging, convinced she was the one. Later, I realized my parents were right. Now, their attitude has also changed dramatically. "Evan, over these years we've watched Sophia steadily make her way to where she is, and we can feel her love for you. Since you treat it like a dream, why not come back and face it with us?" No sooner had father finished speaking than mother continued. "Yes, Evan, she's found you now. For years have passed. Come back. Let's face this together, okay?" I didn't answer immediately. I heard that and felt it was ridiculous. Sophia loves me? I don't believe it. We were together for 5 years. If I had sensed even the slightest affection from Sophia, I wouldn't have chosen to fake my death. Now she's not with her destined Leo, and just by watching over the ashes day and night, they conclude she loves me. Maybe she doesn't believe that I really died, so she chose to investigate the truth. Once the truth is revealed, she'll return to Leo's side. This time, I couldn't sleep all night. Only at dawn did I drift into a slumber. When I woke again, it was already afternoon. For some reason, this nap was unusually deep, making it hard for me to tell dream from reality. I froze on the bed for a long time. Once my thoughts settled, I hurriedly got up and went to the cafe. Sure enough, Sophia was standing by the door, and there were some regulars as well. By rights, I had said the cafe might not be open these days and wouldn't attract so many people. Even if some came, they'd be only a few scattered ones. But today they were gathered so neatly. No need to think twice. It was Sophia who had gathered them. Sophia spotted me in the crowd at once, a smile appearing on her normally sullen face. She stepped forward and said with meaning, "Boss, you still came." At the sight of Sophia, I was taken aback for a moment. So it wasn't a dream. My memories were a mess again, but quickly returned to normal. I greeted the guests in turn, took out the keys, and opened the door. When I pushed it open, she followed me in. I couldn't help feeling irritated. I had clearly already left and freed up space for the two of them. If they weren't going to stay together, why were they coming to look for me? The shop grew lively. As I made coffee, I felt something was off. Since Sophia appeared, my memories had become muddled, making me forget that I had faked my death. Fortunately, the feeling didn't last long. In the end, I pinpointed the source, Sophia. She was sitting at the bar and had ordered a courte-à-deux. The coffee was simple and ready quickly. I handed it to her, "Your coffee." She took the cup, didn't drink, but looked straight at me and said, "My name is Sophia Taylor." "Hello, Miss Sophia." I kept a straight face, as if I truly didn't know her. My reaction wore thin Sophia's patience. She had already been investigated before coming to the Western country. She noticed something was off with the Johnsons a month and a half ago. At first, when she saw them at the police station, she didn't realize they were grieving a lost child. She initially thought the pain was simply buried deep in their hearts, until a few days ago when she discovered the Johnsons' funds were regularly being sent overseas, as if hiding some secret. Ethan, Evan. Similar faces, similar builds, similar ages. One disappears, another appears. If one similarity could be coincidence, so many similarities together formed the final answer. She said decisively, "Ethan, how long are you going to hide?" I looked up at her, confusion in my eyes. "Miss Sophia, you've got the wrong person. My name is Evan Johnson. You can also call me Dylan." I stubbornly refused to admit it. What could she do to me? The identity from before died 4 years ago. Only Evan exists here. Sophia laughed angrily at those words. "Evan, an orphan who came here 4 years ago to find relatives. There was indeed someone relatively close, but she wasn't from the Western country, and no one ever actually saw that relative. Besides, you've been closely associating privately with the West's wealthiest family, the Johnsons, these past few years, and every few months they'd wire you dollars. Can you explain that?" Hearing her words, I swallowed. She investigated so thoroughly. When we were together, she wasn't so attentive to me, but after changing identities, she dug everything up. I was furious and spoke bluntly. "Miss Sophia, we have no grievances or enmity. You still investigate me? Who I contact is none of your business." Sophia was momentarily at a loss for words. After a pause, she said, "The Johnson family once helped me. Your movements are suspicious, and you've taken so many US dollars. Are your intentions foul?" She thought this would make me relent, but I glanced up and, puzzled, asked, "Even if I had ill intentions, it will be the Johnsons making trouble for me, not you who gets to say anything. In what capacity are you questioning me? A friend of Mr. Arthur and Ms. Margaret, or the kept companion of a late Johnson heir?" Those words pierced Sophia's heart. Her eyes instantly reddened. She pressed her lips together, shot me a hard look, and turned away. Her silhouette gave off a chill, a scent of loneliness. I moved my lips, feeling that my earlier words had been excessive, and, in the end, I didn't call out to her. Throughout the 5 years we dated, Sophia had always thought this way. She had said things like this herself many times. Why put on a pitiful act now? I also knew that if Sophia could find me before, she wouldn't give up because of today. Now, if I want peace, I have to move somewhere else. It's a pity about this cafe. It had been with me for 4 years, and now it's been disrupted because of Sophia's appearance. I walked to the door. To prevent Sophia from lingering outside, I chose not to go home, but locked the cafe and slowly went upstairs. Entering the break room, lying on the bed, I still couldn't understand what she hoped to achieve by doing this. Retaliate against me by buying her? I also compensated her, and it was something she agreed to, a win-win. No matter how much she hated me, it was all wiped clean the moment I died. I didn't understand, and stopped trying to think. I drifted back into a hazy sleep. Outside the door, just as Evan expected, Sophia hadn't left. She sat in the car, her feelings a tangle. A kept woman? Is that how he sees me in his heart? The transfer notice for Morning Light Cafe has already been posted. The new owner also wants to run a cafe and happened to leave everything in the shop. It happened so fast that Sophia didn't even see how I left. It was precisely because of this that she became even more convinced Evan was Ethan. I had originally planned to leave the Western country for another nation, but unexpectedly, Sophia blocked me at the airport. If you're not Ethan, what are you hiding from? Even now, Sophia still doesn't understand why I staged my death to leave her. I was somewhat bewildered by her questioning. Hide? What am I supposed to hide from? The memories in my mind were chaotic and disordered. In an instant, my lips went pale and my body went limp. Sophia was startled by the scene before her. Seeing that I was about to collapse to the ground, she hurriedly helped me up. Ethan, don't be afraid. We'll go to the hospital. After recovering, I shook my head. I want to go home. Sophia sighed with relief, but when she heard I wanted to go home, she was momentarily at a loss, not knowing which home I meant. I saw her bewilderment, sighed, and said I would go to the ticket office to buy a ticket back to Zay City. Sophia saw this and bought one too. Why are you looking for me? On the plane, I no longer hid it. I'd already concluded that Sophia had seen through my identity. There was one more reason I decided to return to my country. From the moment Sophia reappeared, my memories began to reorganize. I was afraid I would truly forget who I originally was, afraid of forgetting everything from before, and of forgetting my parents who had always worried about me. Sophia looked at me without answering, but instead asked a question that had puzzled her for a long time. Back then, why did you choose to leave in that way? Answer my question first. I rubbed my temples. Tangled up, I just felt a headache. After a long silence, Sophia was the first to speak. I don't know either. I just wanted to see you, to see if you'd be happier without me, which is why I wanted you to leave. I can't bear the days when you're not here either. Her confession was swallowed by the silence. The only words she could bring herself to say were these few. Sophia froze, and for some reason, she was controlled. She opened her mouth but couldn't utter a single word. The conversations of the other passengers proved my hearing was fine, but the person in front of me moved their lips, and I couldn't hear anything. In an instant, I remembered that my memories had been reorganized. A flash of insight made me understand the root cause. We could only follow the original plot. The supporting male character Ethan's ending his death, so I changed my name to Evan and left. Therefore, I'm fine. But Ethan is dead, so Sophia tracked me down. When she called me Ethan, my memories became confused. I gradually forgot who I was and began to think of myself as the real Evan. Sophia is the heroine. Destiny says she must be with a male lead, so she cannot love anyone else, nor is she allowed to love anyone else. Even if she truly falls in love, she will be forcibly reverted. I can return to my country, but there is no future between us, because in Sophia's world, I had long been dead. When the plane landed, I didn't linger. I didn't look back at Sophia. She wanted to chase me, but her legs wouldn't move, and she watched me walk farther and farther until I vanished. Leo, dressed in a white shirt, waved to her. Sophia, I'm here to pick you up. Did you bring me a gift from your business trip? Sophia felt a strange sensation in her chest as she saw Leo, who had been avoiding her for a long time, appear. She called his going abroad a business trip again, smoothly asking for gifts, the strangeness growing stronger. For years ago, she discovered he had framed Ethan and told him to get lost. He hadn't shown up for a long time. Like a broken mirror, unpatched, yet eerily restored. She didn't know what was happening. The most important thing now is not to become someone else's puppet. The legs that had just been paralyzed gradually loosened as Leo approached, as if they understood why I had left. Now, she felt that she should change. Leo's loud, nagging voice buzzed around my ears, making my head ache a little. She immediately stopped, looked at Leo, and said coldly, "Shut up. Can you be quiet? You're so annoying." Taken aback by the sudden rebuke, Leo paused, showing a pained expression. "Sophia, aren't you too tired? Let's go back." He was just about to take her hand, but Sophia shrugged him off. He wanted to speak, but Sophia ignored him. Just outside the airport, the driver opened the car door for Sophia. After getting in, she closed her eyes tightly, unable to see Leo's grievance, while he hid his hurt. In his heart, he couldn't help but curse me. It's all that person's fault. Even dead, they don't leave things be. Since my death, Sophia has treated him like a different person. I clearly didn't use to resist him before. He actually thought I wanted to help him. I never expected that after I came up with this idea, no one would be any better off. He's already dead, and there's nothing I can do to him. Leo complained, then felt helpless. I was dead, and had become a place Sophia dared not touch in her heart. Soon, he realized he was wrong. The car stopped at the gate of Sophia's villa. Sophia got out, but didn't go home. She walked in another direction. Leo was stunned, quickly got out and followed. Sophia, where are you going? Sophia, who was walking ahead, didn't answer him. Leo had no choice but to follow, and the more they walked, the more uneasy he felt. He realized Sophia was heading to the Johnsons' house. Since Ethan's death, Sophia's relationship with the Johnsons had been very strained. She had never gone to their home. I had just returned home from a business trip today, and suddenly went to the Johnsons' house. Although Sophia's villa and the Johnsons' villa are in opposite directions, they aren't far apart. The two of them hadn't walked for long before they arrived at the Johnsons' villa. In the living room, I was already home. My parents were gathered around asking about my experiences, and I answered with a smile. At that moment, the doorbell rang. The servant was about to open the door, but hesitated for a moment when he saw who was outside. Sophia barged in without caring, with Leo right behind her. The servant chased after them, but no matter what he did, he couldn't stop the two of them. The living room door was suddenly opened. I instinctively turned back and met their gazes. Ethan, you're not dead? At the sight of me, Leo cried out, then a burst of anger followed. So this was your real intention. First arrange for Sophia and me to get together to keep me in check, fake my death, and leave to secure my place in Sophia's heart. Then choose the right time to return home. This way, he can snatch Sophia away from me. Leo looked at me, and a surge of undisguised malice swept over him. And his gaze was unmistakable. It drew my parents' attention, who involuntarily frowned. The servant who had just chased after us hurriedly apologized. Ms. Margaret, Mr. Arthur, they barged in directly. I really couldn't stop them. My mother waved her hand. She finally relaxed and hurriedly withdrew. The moment the door closed, I looked at the two of them and said displeasedly, Miss Sophia, Mr. Leo, with such a big fuss, may I ask what brings you here? Sophia knew she had been impolite, but she also understood that if the servant warned us, she definitely wouldn't get to see me. Sorry, Ethan. I want to talk to you. Nothing else. Having just spoken, she suddenly realized Leo was still following them and felt a bit irritated. She hadn't minded before, but now he was like a stubborn plaster she couldn't shake off. She turned to look at Leo, impatience flashing in her eyes. Why are you following me? Don't you have anything better to do? Being excluded again, Leo felt wronged once more. He just loved her too much and was afraid of losing her. But now, she wouldn't even tolerate him following her. After all these years, she had always shown him favor. In order not to make Sophia dislike him, Leo chose to leave and wait outside the villa. He wandered outside the villa so that after they finished talking, he could see her immediately. Inside, the parents looked at each other, then turned to see Sophia and me locked in a standoff. Father cleared his throat, breaking the silence. We still have things to do. You two can discuss whatever you need to. Don't keep sulking. After saying that, she left without waiting for either of us to respond. The living room was suddenly just the two of us, silent for a long time. Sophia finally spoke. Ethan, I cut her off immediately. If you have something to say it straight. You were bought by me, and you've always been cold. It's over now, and we're not at the point where we can call each other that. Besides, Ethan is already dead. There's only Johnson family's adopted son, Evan, now. Seeing that I was drawing lines with her at every turn, Sophia felt a pang in her heart. A bitter taste spread in her mouth. Her lips moved, and she forced herself to speak. Ethan, I know I was stubborn before, unwilling to admit this relationship for a long time because I felt it was shameful. It wasn't until I heard of your death that I understood my heart and realized how foolish I had been. Ethan, believe me, I truly love you. Before she finished, I interrupted her again. You love me? And then, Sophia froze, not understanding what I meant. I kept a cold face, without a trace of emotion. Ethan, who insists on clinging to Sophia, has only one ending, death. Sophia, can't you feel it? Everything on the plane was vivid in my mind. I also believe that even if she didn't know about the awakened memories and didn't notice my fainting because of memory chaos, her being at a loss for words and unable to speak was enough to prove that something was wrong with this world. Sophia recalled the sense of control over all this in her mind. Her lips trembled, and she couldn't speak. She realized it early, but she didn't want to accept her fate. She had someone she loved. She didn't want anyone to control her life. She had only just spoken when she remembered my words. Ethan, who tangled with Sophia to the end, would only die. So she forced herself to stop using that name. When she looked at me again, her gaze was full of resolve. Evan, wait for me. I will rush to you without hesitation. On that day, no one will be able to stop us. I stared at her unusual determination, frozen and saying nothing. No one can stop us. Will there be such a day? Not controlled by the script, and not having our memories erased. Not helplessly watching her love someone else. I always thought I could accept this kind of ending. Now that Sophia has said something like that, a flicker of hope inevitably appears in my heart. After speaking, Sophia turned and left. I lower my head, feeling somewhat melancholy. But Sophia, I've waited for you for so long. I don't dare be sure whether you really love me, or if you're just mistaking obsession for love. Why have I never once felt your love for me? I murmured to myself. My parents, hearing nothing, stuck their heads out, and seeing my back couldn't help but feel heartache. The two of them hurried over to my side and softly cooed, Ethan, what's wrong? Did you two fight again? What had originally been only some disappointment, upon hearing my mother's concern, I could no longer hold back my emotions and buried my face, crying bitterly. My parents didn't understand what had happened and wanted to comfort me, but didn't know how to begin. In their flustered gaze, they exchanged a look, helplessly and cautiously soothing me. After a moment's thought, with tears still not dry, I said, Mom, Dad, about that dream I told you. If it were real, what would I do? They both suddenly understood. It was that dream that had made me sad. They found it a little funny. After all, because of that dream, I'd faked my death, run off to the Western country, and lived on my own for 4 years, which was already hard to believe. Now that I was finally willing to come back, I was still hung up on that dream. When his gaze met my wronged face, he grew serious again. Ethan, don't be afraid. No matter what happens, we'll stay with you. Mom and Dad will always love you. Sophia walked out of the house and saw Leo coming back from the garage. At that moment when their eyes met, Leo felt a tightening in his chest. She probably couldn't tell, right? He thought. Sophia squinted, scanned Leo, and asked in a low voice, Where did you go? What could I do? I was bored, so I wandered around. Leo nervously scratched his head, repeatedly waving his hands to deny it, quickly changing the subject. Sophia, are you done talking? It's not early anymore. Let's go back. When it came to Evan, Leo hesitated. Back then he had seen Ethan's corpse. Even though the face was completely disfigured, he remembered that face clearly. It was definitely Ethan. So whose face in that villa looked exactly like Ethan's? Could it be haunted and he came back to life? Sophia, wasn't Ethan from 4 years ago, just now that was? Sophia glanced at Leo, lifted her leg, and walked out. When he caught up, she warned, He isn't Ethan, he's Evan, the Johnson family's adopted son. Leo, put away your little schemes. If anything happens to him, don't say the Johnsons won't go after you. There are things I could do too. Leo quickly shook his head and smiled, saying, Sophia, I'm not that kind of person. I wouldn't do something like that. Sophia didn't answer him and walked on by herself. Leo kept pace with her, a small scheme forming again in his mind. Foster son? At this moment, his suspicions deepened. Appearance, age, and name, all those of the Johnson family's son. Who would believe there was no trick? No one would believe in such a coincidence. Although it's unclear what method he used, it's undeniable that he faked his death, left, took a new name, and returned to Zicheng. He chose to leave, and now he's back, and he's come back to continue competing for Sophia. No matter who he is, I won't let him be by Sophia's side. Only if he truly dies will Sophia grieve for a while. Time will heal the wound, and when that happens, I'll be the only one by Sophia's side. Sooner or later, she'll fall in love with me. Leo glanced back at the villa and curled his lips. Ethan, you should have died long ago. Inside the Johnson family villa, I refused to use my identity. My parents, helpless, had to back down. It's okay, Ethan. In a couple of days, we'll hold a recognition banquet and announce your identity. This will make things a bit easier. I didn't refuse, I nodded. I couldn't stay at home forever. After all, I needed a legitimate identity. After that day, Sophia never saw me again. She was looking for a way. Before long, news came that the Johnsons were holding a family recognition banquet. When she received the invitation, Sophia hesitated for a moment, but accepted it anyway. She knew she wanted to see me, even if it was just from afar. The banquet was held at the most luxurious hotel. All the city's elite families attended. No one knew this adopted son, and no one had heard this news. Judging by the setup, it was clear that the Johnson family's adopted son was very important. This naturally aroused curiosity. Everyone wanted to know what kind of person could move the reclusive Johnsons. Everyone waited early. All preparations were complete, and they were just waiting for the protagonist to appear. Small groups gathered, drinking and chatting, while trading barbs and complaints. What's up with this Arthur? He asked us all to come, saying he'd introduce his adopted son. We're all here, but he still hasn't shown. Exactly. When someone's hosting a banquet, the hosts come out first to greet the guests. This isn't Arthur's first time hosting. How could he make such a mistake? In the corner, Sophia listened to the murmurs. She felt a twinge of unease. Her heartbeat grew increasingly rapid. Neither Arthur and his wife nor I had appeared. It was far too strange, and suddenly her eyelids began twitching violently. As time passed, the guests started to feel increasingly off. It's been so long, and no one has shown up. Could something have happened? Let's contact them first and see what's going on. Yeah, let's get in touch. Saying that, they took out their phones and were about to dial when a message popped up. At noon today, there was a traffic accident on Chunha Avenue involving 2 men and 1 woman. All rushed to the hospital. Police preliminarily determined it was brake failure. Chunha Avenue? This is the road the Johnson family must pass through. Clearly, these are the 3 members of the Johnson family who had been missing. Sophia leapt up sharply, completely losing her composure, and walked out while making a call. Check who the 3 people involved in the car accident are and which hospital they're in. Her phone rang. She saw it was news related to the 3 members of the Johnson family. Without hesitation, she drove straight to the address her assistant had sent. 5 minutes later, at Zay's City Central Hospital, Sophia asked a nurse for directions, and upon learning our location, headed straight upstairs. Just finished the surgery. There was no life-threatening danger, and Sophia finally exhaled in relief. She carefully recalled the cause of the accident. In a large family like the Johnsons, cars are serviced regularly. Brake failure would be impossible unless it was deliberate. At the thought of it being deliberate, the image of Leo coming out of the Johnsons' garage that day immediately surfaced in Sophia's mind. In an instant, remorse quickly rose up in her heart. For years ago, Leo harbored malice toward Ethan, and now that he's back again, how could he possibly sit still and do nothing? Besides, Leo's guilt is obvious. How could you be so caught up in anger and not notice it? If you had been a little more attentive, you wouldn't have met such a disaster. After the remorse, the anger could no longer be contained. After all, I warned Leo not to let Ethan get hurt because no one would let him go. Now Leo has ignored the warning and actually allowed all three members of the Johnson family to end up in the hospital. Sophia ground her teeth. Leo, you really outdid yourself. After lying in the hospital for 5 days, my parents and I woke up one after another. Seeing the caregiver David, I instinctively stood up and was noticed just in time. David reassured me. I was hired by Miss Sophia to look after you. Your parents are next door. Someone is taking care of them, so don't worry. You just woke up and haven't fully recovered yet. Be careful not to move around. My mind was foggy and chaotic. Hearing what he said, I obediently lay back down. When he saw me lie down, he finally picked up his phone and called Sophia. Miss Sophia, Mr. Evan is awake. There is a storage room in Sophia's villa, cramped and dark, with even the only window that could let in light sealed shut. The stored items have been cleared away to prevent Leo from using any tools to escape. Leo was bound hand and foot, a cloth stuffed in his mouth, dead skin crusted on his lips, his consciousness hazy. He lay in the corner in a miserable state. He mustered his last strength to crawl towards Sophia, looking at her helplessly, begging her. Having heard David's words, Sophia hung up the phone, turned her head toward Leo, and smiled as she said, Leo, consider yourself lucky. Evan and Ms. Margaret and Mr. Arthur have woken up. After speaking, he walked to the storage room door, personally locked it, and only then went to the hospital feeling reassured. Inside, the last bit of light was also locked away by Sophia. Leo was left completely in the dark, filled with fear, helplessness, and resentment. He and Sophia were childhood sweethearts. Apart from Sophia's mother, he was the only person she accepted. He had always thought he was the most special person in Sophia's heart. Later, to save Sophia's mother, she became my woman. Even so, among the two of them, she cared most about Leo, but Leo was still jealous of me. He had been with Sophia for many years without becoming hers, while I easily occupied her side for 5 years. He framed me again and again, trying to make Sophia loathe me. As things unfolded according to his plan, unexpectedly, I died, and just like that, I became another place she could not touch. He himself was simply completely loathed by Sophia because of this one incident. Even when he was near her, she mostly treated him as air. After waiting another 4 years, thinking my wish would come true, I came back again, and he wanted me dead, wanted my family to die with me. By chance, Sophia discovered it, and as a result, he was locked in a pitch-dark, dilapidated room, unseen by daylight, tormented day after day, and even drinking water was a luxury. He fell to such a state, yet my family and I remained safe and sound. Leo's grief and hatred had nowhere to vent. He gritted his teeth, and the metallic tang of blood instantly filled his mouth. Dizzy and unclear-headed, he felt terribly thirsty in his mind, raised his bound hands, and bit down hard. Sophia, on the road, suddenly felt a sharp pain. Her grip loosened. The vehicle immediately went out of control, and it crashed into a large tree. A piercing sound echoed as, from the momentum, his head slammed into the steering wheel. Consciousness fuzzy, she could only hear glass cracking and what sounded like drops of blood falling. Am I going to die? At the moment her awareness faded, a voice rang in her ear. Alert! The male and female protagonists are in danger. Vital signs weak. The world will collapse. Male and female protagonists? Who is speaking in my ear? What does this mean? Is it auditory hallucination? There was no time to react before Sophia dozed off. When she woke, Sophia was in a space filled with code. The code floated in the air. When she tried to touch it, her hand passed through. Suddenly, a halo of light drifted above her head and scanned her. One exclamation mark after another appeared. Data anomaly detected. Reset required. Reset begins. There was not a trace of emotion, only mechanically numb execution of orders. At a command, the familiar sting assaulted Sophia again, and then she felt her memories being forcibly erased. She discovered in terror that our memories were changing too. A sense of powerlessness spread through her heart. She wanted to flee, But no matter how hard she tried, it was useless. She wanted to resist, but she couldn't even touch the light ring. What followed made her even more terrified. The emotional relationship between the male and female leads has broken down and needs to be reset. The female lead has developed feelings for the male supporting role and needs to be reset. The female lead wants to kill the male lead and needs to be reset. Sentence by sentence, Sophia understood. She stared fixedly at the halo, gritting her teeth. So was you controlling me? I'm a female lead? Want to kill the male lead? Then the male lead is Leo? The supporting male is Ethan? Obviously, after hearing her words, the system stuttered for a moment, then said again, I am responsible for maintaining the operation of this world and will not answer any questions. The scene confirmed Sophia's suspicion. She only felt it was too absurd. Her life was actually being controlled. She suddenly remembered what she'd heard before losing consciousness. Alert! The male and female protagonists are in danger. Vital signs weak. The world will collapse. So she hadn't hallucinated. They were indeed all in danger. The world couldn't continue. And that's why it had pulled her in a check. Thinking of this, Sophia's eyes flickered. She had thought that if I faked my death once, I wouldn't be controlled anymore, that she could follow suit, and she hadn't yet found the right opportunity, only to have that opportunity placed right before her. Since an actual death would cause the world to collapse, and this thing only cares whether the world is functioning normally, she naturally had a bargaining chance. You let me go, I don't want to be controlled into being some heroine. I just want to be with Ethan. Sophia breathed rapidly, afraid the system would forcibly reset her memories. If it really made her forget me and become a puppet controlled by others, she might as well die. The halo flashed once, as if it did not understand her meaning. Then Sophia spoke again. You can reset my memories, but you cannot erase my love for Ethan. Even if you force me to forget, after I leave, I will eventually remember. If you try to force me, I will definitely choose suicide. There was a moment of silence before the system spoke, not in a mechanical voice, but growing gentle. Isn't this good? You can have everything, opportunities, and endless US dollars. Loving only your male lead, you would be the happiest person in this world. With a tone of admonition, it only wanted the person before it to understand its intent, return to the world that belonged to her, and she could have everything except love with the supporting male. Unfortunately, Sophia was resolute, stubbornly shaking her head. I only want to be with my Ethan. Wouldn't you regret losing everything you have now? It doesn't understand love and romance. In its view, this is a better choice for Sophia. She nodded firmly. I don't regret it, but he is destined to die. The purpose of this role now is to reconcile you with the male lead, and in the end he will surely die by the male lead's hand. These words stabbed at Sophia's heart, leaving her at a loss. Even if she pretended to be dead, would it still end like this? It watched Sophia's performance with great satisfaction. Though its expression was unknown, the degree of its rotation already showed how pleased it was. It was born in this space, governing countless worlds. A mere minor character. Replace them with someone else. But suddenly, its rotation paused. What it thought was, I don't want to be the female lead anymore, and the data had long since turned into gibberish. In an instant, after glancing at the world's development, it decided to stop teasing Sophia. All right, wasn't Ethan already dead 4 years ago? Only when that sentence finished did Sophia come to her senses. So it was destined to die. That's what I had meant back then. Then it said, everything you have now is the heroine's halo. If you've really decided to give it up, once you return, you'll have nothing. Not every minor character gets a chance like Ethan's to become the son of the richest man. If you give up this identity, someone else will take your place. You won't even be able to keep your name. It thought it could scare Sophia off, but Sophia said firmly, I willingly give up this identity, give up everything I have. I will never regret it. The day I woke up, David said Sophia would come, but she never showed up even by the time we were discharged. I thought David had lied to me, only to learn that Sophia had also been in a car accident, badly injured and nearly not saved. I was stunned and anxiously had David take me to see her. In the ICU, Sophia remained unconscious, a thin film of moisture on her mask, the ECG rising and falling, proof that she was still alive. Knowing she had been on her way to see me when she suddenly got into a car accident with no warning, I felt deeply guilty. For 4 years, I never showed her a kind face because I didn't feel her love for me. Seeing her lying like this in the hospital bed, my heart ached so much. I was on the sick bed. She was caring for me. She was on the sick bed. I only found out after I recovered. I'm sorry, Sophia. She never owed me anything. It was I who forced it from the start. It's normal that she didn't love me. To escape the fate of dying, I gave up that relationship, but unexpectedly, it still couldn't be untangled. Because I've been brooding over what happened 4 years ago, she patiently coaxed me, and I choked up and lowered my head. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw her fingers move, my heart leapt, and I hurried to find the doctor. Sophia woke up. When Sophia opened her eyes and saw the nurse briefing me, she froze the moment she saw me. Ethan, someone who died 4 years ago? No. Remembering the recent family recognition banquet at the Johnsons', I finally realized I am the adopted son. Seeing me approach, she frowned. What are you doing here? A familiar yet distant voice spoke, and I froze. Why is her reaction like this? Just as I was about to explain, I realized something was wrong. She wasn't Sophia, not the Sophia who said she loved me, not the Sophia who would walk toward me without hesitation. She was the Sophia from the original script who hated me. When I understood, I put my expression away. I came to see you, and to thank you for arranging someone to look after my parents and me at the hospital. I'll pay you in dollars. After saying that, I left. Leaving the hospital, my steps slowed. The current Sophia had reverted. So, what about that Sophia? Had she disappeared? I felt somewhat melancholic. My parents were waiting in the car. Seeing my expression, they assumed Sophia had been badly hurt and asked with concern. I shook my head. She's fine. She won't have any more dealings with the Johnsons. My parents looked puzzled, but didn't press the matter further. We were supposed to go straight into the garage, but stopped at the door. Ms. Margaret, Mr. Arthur, there's someone at the door. Like the driver's words made us puzzled. Looking over, a small, huddled person was at the entrance, face indistinct. My parents thought it was a beggar and were about to drive them away. A bright idea struck me. I stopped my parents, got out of the car, and walked straight toward the beggar. My parents had no choice but to follow. What are you doing here? Who are you? For a moment as I looked up, it was the person I'd loved for so many years. Her eyes were full of surprise. Evan, I said I would rush to you without hesitation, and I really did it. I'm no longer the heroine. I'm just me. The price was losing everything. Are you still willing to buy me? Anything goes, but room and board are included. After hearing her words, I understood at once. I smiled at her and nodded. All right, I have a lot of demands, and if you're not satisfied, I won't keep you. She quickly nodded. I guarantee you'll be satisfied. George, I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want to hear first? I put down my paintbrush and looked at my friend Frank. He stood at the studio door with a mysterious air, his face a mix of nervousness and excitement. Let's start with the bad news. After all, I've gotten used to it these past 3 years. Your painting, Eternity, just sold for a sky-high price. Over $6 million. I frowned. How is that bad news? Frank chuckled. Because it's actually part of the good news. The bad news is, buddy, you might need to see a psychiatrist. What do you mean? A woman who looks exactly like Mary showed up at your art exhibition. I almost thought I was seeing a ghost. The paintbrush slipped from my hand and fell to the floor, splattering paint across the unfinished canvas. Mary, my late wife, died 3 years ago after accidentally falling off a cliff. I watched with my own eyes as her body was pulled from the water. In that moment, my world completely collapsed. Stop joking around, Frank. Why would I lie to you? She even left this. Frank handed me a note with an address and a time written on it. My hand trembled slightly. The handwriting was exactly the same as Mary's. That night, I waited until midnight at the designated cafe. Just as I was about to leave, a familiar figure appeared at the door. Mary? No, It couldn't be her. But every gesture of that woman, from the tips of her hair to her fingertips, was a shadow of Mary. George, it's been a long time. She sat across from me, and the familiar voice nearly made my heart stop. Who are you? I struggled to remain calm. I'm Mary, your wife. She smiled and reached out her hand. There was a scar on her palm, the mark Mary got when she accidentally cut herself on glass at 15. Impossible. Mary is already dead. She laughed softly. That was just an accident. I fell off the cliff and was saved by a reclusive old doctor. I lost my memory from the injuries and only recently remembered everything. As she spoke, tears began to fall with an expression I knew all too well, the look Mary wore whenever she felt wronged. I know it's hard to believe, but I really am Mary. I couldn't believe my eyes. The shade of lipstick Mary loved most, the faint little mole beneath her left ear, the unconscious habit of rubbing her ring while speaking. Everything was so familiar. Are you really Mary? She nodded and took a small box out of her bag. This is the proof. Inside the box was the first piece of jewelry Mary ever designed. A sapphire ring, the only one of its kind, never mass-produced. I brought it with me that day because I wanted to surprise you. I suddenly stood up and pulled her into my arms. 3 years of longing surged over me like a tide. I held her tightly, afraid that if I let go, she would disappear again. On the way home, she told me about her experiences over the past 3 years. She was rescued by an old doctor in the mountains, lost her memory due to a severe head injury, and lived in a remote mountain village for more than 2 years. It wasn't until she happened to see a poster for my art exhibition that her memory gradually returned. The next day, I took her to see Frank. Oh my God, it really is you, Mary. Frank stared in astonishment, eyes wide. Frank, it's been a long time. She greeted him with a smile, exactly as I remembered. Frank pulled me aside and whispered, Man, this is unbelievable, but I really believe it's her. Who else but Mary could call me by my childhood nickname so accurately? That was something only the two of you knew. A week later, Mary officially returned. We held a small welcome party for her. Her mother was so overwhelmed that she fainted, and when she woke up, she clung to her daughter and refused to let go. But that night, I noticed the first sign that something was off. Mary never ate mangoes because she was severely allergic. Yet the returned Mary absent-mindedly tasted a mango dessert and was perfectly fine. Aren't you allergic to mangoes? I asked. She paused for a moment, then quickly laughed and said, Oh, that old Chinese doctor cured my allergy. He's really amazing. I nodded, but in my heart, I marked the first question mark. Is this really my wife? A month passed quickly, and Mary blended perfectly into our lives. She knew the location of every item in the house, remembered our shared memories, and could even accurately name friends we hadn't contacted in years. But those subtle feelings of discord kept growing. For example, the real Mary liked to listen to classical music, especially Debussy, while designing jewelry. But she would always unconsciously hum along to pop songs. Mary always habitually used her left hand to hold chopsticks, even though she knew it was wrong. She just couldn't change. But she was a standard right-handed user. The most obvious difference appeared that night when I accidentally caught her smoking in the bedroom. The real Mary hated the smell of smoke. Even when I came home from social events with a faint scent of cigarettes, she would frown. When did you start smoking? I stood at the doorway, my voice soft. She was clearly startled, hastily snuffing out the cigarette. This is a herbal cigarette for treating insomnia, prescribed by an old Chinese doctor. I nodded, not pressing further, but the doubts in my heart only grew deeper. The next day, I went to find Frank. Help me check if, in the past 3 years, plastic surgery technology has advanced enough to achieve this level. Frank's eyes widened. You mean, she's not Mary? I'm not sure, but there are always some things that don't add up. 2 days later, Frank brought news. High-end plastic surgery can make faces look similar, but it can't replicate the exact placement of scars or moles. And there's a limit to how well someone can imitate a voice. What if it was a twin? Frank shook his head. Mary is an only child. We all know that. I decided not to show my feelings for now and to keep observing. A week later, Mary's mother came to my house with astonishing news. George, Mary is going to have a baby, my mother-in-law told me excitedly. I stood there stunned. Before we got married, Mary had been diagnosed with uterine hypoplasia. The doctor had made it clear she could never get pregnant. This was our shared secret. Not even my mother-in-law knew. How do you know that? I managed to ask. Mary told me this morning. She said she already had a checkup. It's been 2 months. My mother-in-law happily grabbed my hand. It's a blessing from above. Mary survived death, and now she can bring us new life. My heart sank to the bottom. This absolutely could not be Mary. That night, I dug out the hospital's diagnosis certificate in my study, which clearly stated the condition of Mary's uterus. But when I wanted to talk to Mary about it, I found her in the bedroom, excitedly discussing the decoration of the nursery with my mother-in-law. Mary, could you come here for a moment? I called her calmly. She followed me into the study, still wearing a blissful smile on her face. Did you forget about this? I handed her the diagnosis certificate. She took it and glanced at it, her face instantly turning pale. George, I can explain. Explain what? Explain that you're not Mary at all. Mother-in-law heard the commotion and walked in. What's going on with you two? Mom, take a look at this. I handed her the proof. My mother-in-law read it, then looked at Mary in astonishment. What's going on? Mary, you can't have children. Of course she can, I sneered, because she's not Mary at all. My mother-in-law's face changed dramatically. What nonsense are you talking about? I can explain. She hurriedly grabbed my mother-in-law's hand. That old Chinese doctor not only saved my life, but also cured my uterine problem. It's a miracle, truly. My mother-in-law looked at me, then at her, hesitating. George, you're being too paranoid. My mother-in-law finally took her daughter's side. Mary has come back with great difficulty. You should cherish her, not doubt her. Yes, George, I know this is hard to accept, but miracles do happen. Tears welled up in her eyes. Haven't we always wanted a child? Now we can finally have our own baby. I looked at her face, identical to Mary's, yet I became more certain in my heart. This woman was not my wife. All right, I believe you. I smiled, deciding to go along with their story for now. Let's wait together for this miracle to happen. That night, I secretly contacted a private detective. My mother-in-law gladly accepted her daughter's explanation, even suggesting she move in with us to take care of Mary during her pregnancy. Outwardly, I agreed, but inside I grew even more wary. This was no coincidence. There had to be some kind of plot. Mom, haven't you always lived in Haicheng? Won't it be hard to get used to living here? I probed cautiously. For my grandson, I'm willing to endure any inconvenience, my mother-in-law said firmly. I noticed a fleeting unnatural expression on Mary's face. Could the truth be connected to my mother-in-law? On the 3rd day after my mother-in-law moved in, I discovered more suspicious details. For example, the real Mary never drank coffee, but she and my mother-in-law often enjoyed it together. Also, Mary's favorite movie was Roman Holiday, but she claimed to prefer Titanic. The strangest thing is, Mary used to despise her cousin Tom when she was alive, but now he visits frequently and chats and laughs with Mary as if they're old friends. I told Frank about these discoveries. Buddy, things are getting more and more suspicious, Frank frowned. Are you sure you want to keep going like this? Why not just expose her directly? It's not the right time yet. I want to find out what they're really after. The private detective's investigation also made progress. The so-called old Chinese doctor who had saved Mary did not exist at all, and Mary's whereabouts over the past 3 years were completely untraceable. More importantly, the private detective uncovered a shocking fact during the investigation. Mary's cousin Tom was deeply in debt from gambling, and the painting Eternity under my name, worth over $6 million, was his only hope for quick cash. They're after your painting, the private detective asserted, and this fake Mary is likely a professional identity fraudster, hired to win your trust. I took a deep breath and decided to take the initiative. That afternoon, I pretended to go out, but secretly returned home and hid in the study. Sure enough, Mary and her cousin Tom were whispering to each other in the living room. It's taking too long, Tom said irritably. How much longer until he sells the painting? Don't worry, she soothed him. I'm already pregnant, and now he completely believes I'm Mary. In a little while, I'll say I want to move to a better neighborhood for the sake of the baby, and then we'll naturally need to sell the painting to raise money. You're really pregnant? That wasn't part of the plan. It was an accident, but it works to our advantage. George wants a child so badly. Does Annie know the truth? She only knows we're trying to scam money, not the specific plan. But she hates George, thinks he caused her daughter's death, so she's more than happy to help. I clenched my fists. So my mother-in-law had always believed that Mary's accident was somehow my fault. In fact, we did argue over something trivial that day, and Mary stormed out in anger. I didn't try to stop her. But I never imagined it would be the last time I'd see her. You don't actually have feelings for George, do you? Tom suddenly asked. She was silent for a moment. It's just part of the job. Besides, I owe you, and I won't go back on my word. Good then. Don't forget how we're splitting the money once we get it. Their conversation confirmed my suspicions. This was all an elaborate scheme, with my eternity as the target. In the days that followed, I pretended everything was normal while secretly making preparations. I contacted the police, arranged for evidence-gathering equipment, and found the last piece Mary had left before she died, a silver necklace that had never been made public, engraved with an anniversary date only the two of us knew. 2 weeks later, my art exhibition was held as scheduled. As planned, Mary brought up the idea of moving, hinting that I could sell eternity. I pretended to agree and said I would auction the painting on the last day of the exhibition. This is a surprise I prepared for you, I said on the eve of the exhibition, taking out a delicate box. To celebrate the new life we're about to begin. She opened the box in surprise, and inside was the silver necklace. It's beautiful, thank you. She smiled as she prepared to put it on. Wait, I stopped her. Aren't you going to look at the engraving on the back? She turned the necklace over, and her face suddenly went pale. What's wrong? Don't you like it? I asked, feigning ignorance. No, I really like it. It's just, I'm a bit moved. She forced a smile, but didn't know how to explain that she couldn't recognize the significance of that date. See you tomorrow. Get some good rest, and don't forget to wear this necklace. I kissed her forehead and whispered in her ear, after all, this is your final design. Her body visibly stiffened for a moment, but she kept smiling. Of course, I cherish it very much. Tomorrow, the truth will come to light. On the day of the exhibition, the place was packed with people. My painting, Eternity, was displayed in the most prominent spot, right next to the last batch of jewelry designs Mary had created before her death. Mary held my arm, flawlessly playing the role of my wife as always. She had even gone out of her way to wear Mary's favorite white dress and the silver necklace I had given her last night. My mother-in-law and Tom were there too. The three of them exchanged glances from time to time, clearly waiting for the perfect moment. Frank appeared as planned, pretending to be extremely interested in Eternity and asking me about the auction details. The auction will begin promptly at 4 in the afternoon, I replied with a smile. This painting means a great deal to me, and I hope it finds someone who truly appreciates it. Mary immediately chimed in. Yes, although it's hard to part with it, this is a necessary decision for our future. I noticed she glanced at Tom, who gave a barely perceptible nod. At 3:30 in the afternoon, the projector in the center of the exhibition hall lit up. This was the special segment I had arranged. Ladies and gentlemen, I stood in front of Eternity. Before the auction begins, I'd like to share a little story about this painting. Mary's photo appeared on the projection screen, a group picture from her last birthday party before she passed away. 3 years ago, my wife Mary died in an accident. I created this painting, Eternity, in her memory. The woman in the painting has her back to the viewer, forever gazing into the distance, symbolizing a longing I can never reach. A soft sigh rippled through the crowd. Mary stood beside me, matching my words with a sorrowful expression. However, a month ago, a miracle happened. I turned to look at Mary. My wife came back. The whole room erupted in astonishment, and many people curiously sized up, Mary. This is my wife, Mary. I took her hand and stepped forward. Back from the dead, it's truly the greatest blessing heaven could have given me. She smiled and nodded to everyone, while my mother-in-law and Tom stood by with smug expressions. However, my tone suddenly shifted. Amidst my joy, a question arose. Is she really Mary? The entire room fell silent. Mary's hand trembled slightly in my palm. So, I did some investigating. The projector switched to a set of comparison photos. On the left was the real Mary. On the right was a photo of her. They look exactly the same, don't they? But I clicked the remote, and the photo was enlarged, the details highlighted. The position of the piercing on the left ear was slightly different, the arch of the eyebrows subtly varied, and the fine lines at the corners of the eyes ran in different directions. These are details that even professional plastic surgery cannot fully replicate. Mary tried to pull her hand away, but I held on tightly. My mother-in-law and Tom also began to grow anxious, glancing toward the exit. More importantly, the real Mary has a feature that cannot be copied. I turned to Mary. The necklace I gave you last night has a date engraved on the back. Can you tell everyone what that date is? She opened her mouth, but no words came out. That was the due date of our first child, the one we lost. I spoke softly, my voice trembling with emotion. Mary designed this necklace to commemorate the baby we never got to meet. The date was our secret, only Mary and I knew. The room fell utterly silent. Mary turned deathly pale, my mother-in-law's eyes widened, and Tom had already started edging toward the door. What surprised me even more, I continued, was that the real Mary could never get pregnant due to an underdeveloped uterus. Yet this, Mary claims she's already 2 months along. I let go of her hand and took a step back. So, who are you really? A flicker of despair flashed in Mary's eyes, but she quickly regained her composure. I am Mary, it's just that old Chinese doctor. The non-existent old Chinese doctor, right? I sneered. Just like the non-existent amnesia, the non-existent miraculous recovery. I turned toward the projection screen. Let's see the truth. The screen played the secretly recorded video of her conversation with Tom, their discussion on how to swindle eternity, clearly audible. This isn't. She tried to explain, but my mother-in-law had already rushed forward. Who are you really? My mother-in-law screamed. You're not my daughter? Auntie, stop pretending, I said calmly. You know she's not Mary. You just wanted to get back at me, didn't you? My mother-in-law's face turned pale. I didn't know she was going to impersonate Mary. Tom just said he needed help to scam some money. Police. Don't move. Several plainclothes officers emerged from the crowd, blocking Tom as he tried to escape. Amid the chaos, Mary took the opportunity to shove me aside and run toward the exit. I chased after her and caught up in the parking lot. Tell me, who are you really? She finally stopped, turned to face me, tears welling in her eyes. My name is Luna. I'm an actress. Tom found me and said if I helped trick you out of a painting, he'd give me $1 million. I needed the money for my sister's medical treatment. Why did they choose me? Why Mary? She shook her head. I don't know. They gave me a lot of information, photos, videos, even your chat logs. I was just following the script. The police arrived and took her away. I stood where I was, gazing at the distant sky, my heart a tumult of emotions. Back in the exhibition hall, the crowd had already dispersed, leaving only Frank and a few police officers. It's all been cleared up, Frank walked over. Tom owed money to loan sharks and was desperate. Your mother-in-law always resented you for not saving Mary, so she helped them plan the whole thing. I walked up to eternity, gently caressing the back of the woman in the painting. Mary, I can finally give you an answer. The police left with the evidence. Frank patted me on the shoulder. What do you plan to do next? I took a deep breath. Prepare for the final painting. What will it be called? The Pursuit, I said softly. This time, I'll paint her face, not just her back. After the case was solved, my life seemed to return to where it was 3 years ago. Eternity was temporarily held by the court as crucial evidence. Tom and Luna were arrested for fraud, and my mother-in-law was investigated as an accomplice. The prosecution wants you to testify in court, the officer called to inform me. The trial is scheduled for early next month. I agreed, though I was utterly exhausted inside. After exposing the deception, I thought I would feel the thrill of revenge, but what I felt instead was a profound emptiness. Those days spent with Mary that month had allowed me to feel a trace of warmth in life again, even if that warmth was born of lies. Frank often came to see me, worried I might fall into despair once more. I told him not to worry, that I was working on a new piece, The Pursuit. Are you really going to paint Mary's face from the front? Frank asked curiously. For the past 3 years, you've always refused to do that. It's time, I replied. We can't live in the past forever. I moved out of the apartment I had shared with Mary and returned to the old house in the suburbs, the place where the real Mary and I had first made our home. The dust-laden memories in the house brought me both pain and comfort. Mary's studio remained just as she had left it, design sketches scattered across the table, unfinished jewelry drafts pinned to the drawing board. One afternoon, while sorting through Mary's belongings, I discovered an encrypted external hard drive. After several attempts, I finally unlocked it using our wedding anniversary as the password. Inside were backups of Mary's design works, along with some personal photos and videos. One folder in particular caught my attention. Inside a folder named Plan was a series of jewelry design sketches, labeled George's Birthday Special Project. It was then I remembered that, in the months before Mary passed away, she often spoke mysteriously about giving me an unparalleled birthday surprise. Leafing through these design drafts, I couldn't help but be moved to tears. Mary had planned to design a jewelry collection inspired by my paintings over the years, with each piece corresponding to a representative work from my artistic career. The last page was a sketch of a ring, with a dark red stone set in the center, its edges adorned with tiny diamonds, closely resembling the sunrise in my early work, Dawn. This is blood amber? I examined the notes carefully, confirming the name of this rare gemstone. Mary's designs had always been bold, but blood amber is extremely rare in the Chinese market, almost impossible to acquire. How did she obtain such a material? As I continued searching, I found a series of email correspondence screenshots. Mary had actually contacted a gemstone dealer in Myanmar, commissioning the blood amber specifically for this ring. The last email showed that the gem had already been shipped, but the date was exactly 1 week before Mary's death. I immediately called Frank. Help me check if there was a package sent from Myanmar 3 years ago, addressed to Mary. 2 days later, Frank brought news. The package did exist, but since no one signed for it, it was returned. However, according to the shipping records, it was resent a month ago, this time addressed to you. What? I was completely confused. I haven't received any package. Check your old apartment? Frank suggested. Back at my old apartment, the manager told me there was indeed a package, but it had been signed for by Mary. She said it was a surprise for you, so she didn't notify you, the manager explained. This meant Luna had taken the blood amber. I rushed to the detention center and requested to see Luna. Separated by glass, she looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but still wore that face so similar to Mary's. What are you doing here? She asked coldly. A month ago, you signed for a package from Myanmar. There was a blood amber inside. I want to know where it is. She looked surprised. How did you know? Tom asked me to sign for it. He said it was some precious gem. He took it. My heart sank. Tom was deep in gambling debt. A precious blood amber would be a windfall for him. He had probably sold it long ago. That blood amber is very important to me, I said softly. It was the last gift my wife left me. Luna was silent for a moment, then suddenly said, maybe it's not that bad. Tom said the stone has flaws, its value is greatly reduced, and he hasn't found a suitable buyer yet. Hope was rekindled. If Tom hadn't sold the blood amber yet, maybe there was still a chance to get it back. Do you know where he might hide it? Luna hesitated for a moment. He has a safe deposit box in a self-storage facility on the east side of the city. After getting the address, I immediately contacted the officer in charge of the case and explained the situation. Since Tom was involved in a large sum of money, the police quickly approved the search request. Mr. George, we've found the safe deposit box, the officer said over the phone. Inside, we did find the blood amber you described, as well as some other evidence. A few hours later, I retrieved the blood amber at the police station. It was even more beautiful than I had imagined. Within the dark red core, wisps of mist seemed to swirl, shifting strangely under the light. This was the birthday gift Mary had so carefully chosen for me, waiting for 3 years. Back home, I carefully placed the blood amber beside the canvas of the pursuit. The painting was already more than half finished, Mary's face emerging from the blur into clarity, yet it still felt like something was missing. Watching the blood amber glimmer faintly under the light, I suddenly understood how I should complete the painting. The creation of the pursuit entered its final stage. I decided to break convention and incorporate the blood amber into the artwork. This would not only be a portrait, but a hybrid piece that fused painting with the art of jewelry. Are you sure you want to do this? Frank frowned. That blood amber is priceless. That's exactly why, I said firmly. Mary chose it for me. She wanted to inspire an unparalleled masterpiece. I will fulfill her wish. For 2 whole weeks, I worked day and night, neglecting sleep and food. I cut the blood amber into thin slices and inlaid them at the spot of Mary's eyes on the canvas, making her gaze truly come alive. I used a special technique to blend the surrounding paint, creating a harmonious transition with the gemstone. From certain angles, the entire painting seemed to be imbued with life, and Mary's expression would shift depending on where the viewer stood. On the day I finished the piece, Frank brought news. Luna had been sentenced to 3 years in prison, but due to her good attitude in confessing, she might serve only a year and a half. Tom, involved in multiple fraud cases, was sentenced to 7 years. My mother-in-law, as an accomplice, received a suspended sentence. The case is finally over, Frank said. Are you planning to exhibit your painting? Yes. Next month there will be a solo exhibition at the National Art Museum, and The Pursuit will be the grand finale. The curator couldn't stop praising this piece, believing it represents the innovative direction of contemporary art and marks the pinnacle of my career. Indeed, this painting, which incorporates Mary's jewelry design concepts, is in some sense a creation we made together. On the eve of the exhibition, I checked the arrangement in the gallery alone one last time, making sure every piece was perfectly lit and positioned. When I reached The Pursuit, I couldn't help but stop and gaze at it. Mary's face was vividly lifelike, her eyes inlaid with blood amber gleaming under the spotlight, as if she were smiling at me. For the first time in 3 years, I faced her directly, no longer painting only her back. Mr. George, a stranger's voice called from behind. Sorry to disturb you, but the gallery has been cleared. He turned around to see a young woman dressed in the museum's staff uniform. And you are? I'm the new curator, responsible for security in your exhibition area, she explained with a smile. I really like your work, especially this piece, The Pursuit. Thank you. I nodded. I'll be leaving soon. She didn't leave, but continued to gaze at the painting. That red gem is beautiful, almost as if it's alive. It's blood amber, I explained, a very rare gemstone. I know, she said softly, top-grade blood amber from Myanmar, containing plant fossils, extremely rare. I looked at her in surprise. You know a lot about jewelry? She smiled. I studied jewelry design. I'm just working part-time here. For some reason, Mary suddenly came to mind. She, too, had an almost obsessive passion for and expertise in gemstones. If you don't mind me asking, who is the woman in this painting? She asked. My wife, I replied. She passed away 3 years ago. She was a jewelry designer. I'm very sorry, she said sincerely, then gestured toward the blood amber. This gem must mean a great deal to you. It was the last birthday gift she chose for me before she died, but I only found it recently. She nodded thoughtfully. Setting it into her portrait is the best way to remember her. For some reason, talking with this unfamiliar woman brought me a strange sense of calm. Perhaps it was her love for jewelry that reminded me of Mary. Sorry, I have to continue my rounds. She glanced at her watch. See you tomorrow, Mr. George. See you tomorrow, I replied, watching her leave. On the way home, I felt an unusual peace. The completion of The Pursuit seemed to mark the end of my search for Mary as well. Not forgetting, but remembering her forever in another way. The next day, the exhibition's opening ceremony attracted numerous figures from the art world and the media. The Pursuit undoubtedly became the center of attention, with people marveling at this innovative form of artistic expression. Amid the crowd, I noticed that curator standing aside, watching as well. Sunlight streamed through the skylight of the gallery, falling upon her, and for a fleeting moment, I thought I saw Mary's shadow. No, I shook my head, warning myself not to be deceived by mere resemblance. There would never be another Mary in this world, just as there would never be another unique blood amber. After the exhibition, The Pursuit was purchased by an anonymous collector for an astronomical price. I donated all the proceeds to a foundation supporting students in jewelry design, establishing a scholarship in Mary's name. Life slowly moved forward, and I began to accept new commissions and create new works. Occasionally, I would think of that curator with a unique insight into jewelry, wondering if she was still working at the art museum. Until one day, I received an email from HL. There were no words, only an image. A sketch of a ring design, the style strikingly similar to Mary's unfinished series. My heart raced as I replied immediately. Who is this? The response came quickly. Yesterday, you brushed past me by the cafe on the street corner, but you didn't recognize me. If you want to know more, wait for me at the museum entrance at noon tomorrow. Is it that librarian? How could she have a design so reminiscent of Mary's style? Filled with anxiety and anticipation, I decided to accept the invitation and find out for myself. The next day at noon, I arrived at the art museum half an hour early. The sun was shining, and small groups of visitors were coming and going from the exhibition hall, but there was no sign of the mysterious person. Just as I began to suspect this might be some kind of prank, a faint trace of perfume drifted by, a scent unfamiliar to me, yet it inexplicably reminded me of Mary. "Mr. George, thank you for coming." The voice behind me made me turn around. It was the curator. Today, she wasn't wearing her uniform, but a simple white dress, completely different from Mary's style when she was alive. "Did you send the email?" I asked directly. She nodded. "There are some things I want to tell you, but not here. Will you come with me?" We walked through the small park beside the art museum and arrived at a secluded cafe. The whole time, I kept observing her. Her mannerisms, the way she walked, none of it resembled Mary. Yet her sensitivity to detail and her focused attention gave me a strange sense of familiarity. "Who are you, really?" The moment we sat down, I couldn't wait to ask. "My name is Nicole." She looked me straight in the eye. "I'm Mary's student." This answer caught me off guard. Mary had indeed taught jewelry design part-time at the Design Academy before she passed away, but she had never mentioned having any particularly close students. "I took her advanced design class the year before she passed," Nicole explained. "Her guidance benefited me for a lifetime." "That still doesn't explain why your designs resemble her style so much," I said, half convinced. Nicole took a folder out of her bag. "These are all notes from Ms. Nicole's class and her feedback on my work. You can look at the handwriting and confirm that it's really hers." I carefully examined the materials. It was indeed Mary's handwriting. There were even traces of the pale purple ink she habitually used. "Before Ms. Nicole passed away, she was guiding me on my graduation project," Nicole continued. "The theme was interwoven light and shadow, blending Eastern and Western aesthetic elements. She gave me a lot of valuable advice, and even showed me a sketch from a private project she was working on at the time." "George's special birthday project?" I blurted out. Nicole's eyes widened in surprise. "You know about it?" "I only found out recently." I briefly explained the origin of the blood amber. "I knew that blood amber would eventually find its way back to you," Nicole said with a smile. "Nicole always said it was a destined gift." "Is that why you contacted me?" "Because you saw the blood amber?" Nicole was silent for a moment, as if choosing her words carefully. "Not entirely. After Nicole passed away, I've been trying to carry on the design philosophy she taught me. Some time ago, I happened to see the news about your eternity being stolen, and then I saw someone impersonating Nicole. I thought I should tell you a few things." She took a letter out of her bag. "This is the last letter Nicole gave me after class before she passed away. She said if her surprise plan went smoothly, I should show you this letter. If anything went wrong and she was gone, I should still make sure you see it." I took the envelope. It was indeed Mary's handwriting, and it read, "To my dearest husband." The envelope had already been opened. I didn't know what was in the letter at the time. I just kept it as Nicole instructed, Nicole explained. It wasn't until I saw the news that I opened it. "I hope you won't blame me." I carefully took out the letter paper and unfolded it to read. "Dear George, if you are reading this letter, perhaps my surprise plan has gone awry. Don't worry, it's just that the plan has changed, and the form of the gift may be different now. The blood amber I picked for you is said to be known as the Eye of Rebirth. Legend has it that looking at the world through it reveals truths that are often overlooked. I hope it can become a turning point in your artistic career, leading you to see new possibilities. All these years, your paintings have always depicted backs, as if you're afraid to face something head-on. I hope this gemstone will give you the courage to paint the front, to capture true emotions. No matter what happens, please remember, love does not disappear, it merely changes form, like this blood amber, which, after millions of years, transforms from resin into a gem, yet still shines. Forever loving you, Mary." The handwriting became a bit messy at the end, as if written in a hurry. I stroked the paper, as if I could feel Mary's emotions at that moment. "Thank you," I said, my voice choked with emotion. "This means a lot to me." "You're welcome. I'm just fulfilling Ms. Nicole's request," Nicole said with a smile. "Actually, there's one more thing I'd like to ask your help with." "What is it?" "I'd like to apply for the Mary Scholarship you established," she said, taking a design portfolio out of her bag. "This is my graduation project, combining Ms. Nicole's ideas with my own innovations." As I flipped through the portfolio, I was surprised to find that while these designs bore traces of Mary's influence, they also possessed a unique style and innovative touches. In particular, a series called Metamorphosis cleverly combined jewelry with transformable elements, allowing the pieces to change form according to the wearer's mood and occasion. "This is outstanding," I praised sincerely. Mary would be proud of you. A hint of joy flashed in Nicole's eyes. Really? I've always worried I couldn't live up to her expectations. You've already moved beyond the learning stage and developed your own style. That's exactly what she hoped to see. As we talked, sunlight streamed through the window and fell on Nicole. In that moment, I seemed to understand something. When Mary spoke of love changing its form, perhaps she wasn't just referring to the blood amber, but also to her passion for art and its legacy. Luna tried to impersonate Mary by mimicking her appearance, but she could never truly replicate who she was. Nicole, on the other hand, looked nothing like Mary, yet she inherited a part of her artistic vision and spirit. Perhaps this is the true gift Mary left me, not the blood amber, but a new possibility, a path out of the past. Nicole's graduation exhibition was held in a small gallery. Though the space was modest, it was exquisitely arranged. Her works were divided into 3 series, representing the past, the present, and the future, forming a complete narrative. This is a brilliant idea, I sincerely praised. From tradition to contemporary and then to the future, it showcases the evolution and possibilities of jewelry design. Nicole smiled and nodded. This was inspired by teacher Nicole. She always says that good design should look back at history, be grounded in the present, and look forward to the future. As I walked through the exhibition hall, I noticed a special display case in the corner, containing only one piece, a seemingly simple ring with a small red gemstone set in the center. This is. I leaned in to read the label, which said, in memory, dedicated to teacher Mary. Yes, I made it from a small piece of blood amber I bought with my own savings, Nicole explained. It can't compare to the quality of yours, but it's also from Myanmar. I examined the design of the ring closely. Clean, powerful lines with fine silver threads encircling the blood amber, as if protecting the central gem, yet also seeming to radiate light outward. This is very similar to Mary's final design style, I said softly, but it also has your own unique touch. I wanted to create a piece that could both commemorate teacher Nicole and showcase my own style, Nicole explained. The blood amber represents her influence, while the outer design is the direction of my own development. The exhibition attracted quite a few industry insiders, including some well-known figures from the jewelry design world. After viewing the exhibition, an older female designer approached Nicole and offered her an internship opportunity. I stood by, genuinely happy for Nicole. In the evening, as the exhibition was drawing to a close, Frank arrived as well. Seeing me with Nicole, he gave me a knowing smile. New friend? He asked me quietly. Mary's student, I explained simply. Very talented. Frank nodded without asking further questions. After touring the exhibition, he gave high praise to Nicole's work. It blends traditional and modern elements, demonstrating both technical skill and artistic expression, quite rare. Nicole thanked him politely. This wouldn't have been possible without the guidance of teacher Nicole and teacher George. After the exhibition, the 3 of us went to a nearby restaurant for dinner. During the meal, Frank talked about recent trends in the art market, while Nicole shared her insights on contemporary jewelry design. The conversation was light and pleasant, and I realized it had been a long time since I had relaxed and chatted with others like this. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank received an urgent call and left early. Only Nicole and I remained in the restaurant, and the atmosphere suddenly became a bit quiet. Mr. George, Nicole hesitated for a moment before speaking. I've always had a question I wanted to ask you. What is it? After you finished the pursuit, what are you planning to create next? The question caught me off guard. To be honest, ever since the pursuit, I haven't had any new inspiration. That painting seemed to have drained all my emotions and creativity. I haven't decided yet, I answered honestly. It might take some time to find a new direction. Nicole nodded thoughtfully. Nicole once said that the hardest thing for an artist isn't creating a stunning masterpiece, but finding a way forward after reaching the peak. She really did say that, I recalled with a smile. Mary always saw further than I did. Maybe, Nicole said softly, you could try a new direction that combines your work with jewelry design? Like in The Pursuit, but taking it even further. I recalled what Mary mentioned in her letter about seeing new possibilities, and suddenly I was inspired. You mean, creating a series of works that combine painting and jewelry? Exactly. Nicole said excitedly, your paintings create emotion in 2-dimensional space, while jewelry gives it tangible form in the 3-dimensional world. The combination of the two would have an astonishing effect. The more we talked, the more engaged we became. even sketching a few concept designs on the restaurant's napkins. Nicole's ideas were fresh and bold, perfectly aligning with my artistic vision, yet bringing a new perspective. As we left the restaurant, Nicole suddenly said, "I have to confess something." I looked at her in confusion. "I reached out to you not only to deliver Nicole's letter, but also for a personal reason. I hope to learn from you," she said candidly. "I want to become a designer like Nicole, someone who not only creates beautiful works but also perfectly blends art with emotion." Her sincerity moved me. "You're already on that path, and you're doing very well." "Then, may I consult you often?" she asked a little nervously. Of course, I'd be delighted. On the way home, a series of new works already began to take shape in my mind. A cross-disciplinary art that fuses painting and jewelry, both as a tribute to Mary and as a new starting point in my artistic career. That night, I had a dream. In the dream, Mary stood in a halo of blood-red light, smiling at me and saying, "See, I knew you would find a new direction." When I woke up, I got out of bed immediately and began sketching for the new series. I decided to name it Rebirth. Not only representing the ancient life forever preserved in blood amber, but also symbolizing the rebirth of my artistic career, as well as the inheritance and development of Mary's artistic vision. A week later, I submitted a new series proposal to the gallery and received an enthusiastic response. The curator even suggested holding a special exhibition themed Between Dimensions, a dialogue between painting and jewelry. For this project, I invited Nicole to join the team as a jewelry design consultant. She had just graduated from design school and was both excited and nervous about the opportunity. "Am I really up to the task?" she asked me in the studio. "You understand Mary's design philosophy better than anyone," I assured her. "That's exactly what I need." In the days that followed, we worked at a feverish pace. We created during the day and discussed at night, sometimes even working through until dawn. Nicole's ideas flowed endlessly, and I transformed those thoughts into concrete artistic expressions. In the process, I rediscovered the pure joy of creation that I hadn't felt in a long time. One late night, when we finally finished the design for our first piece, Nicole clapped her hands excitedly. "This is amazing. Teacher Nicole will definitely love it." At the mention of Mary, she suddenly realized her slip and looked at me nervously. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." "It's all right," I said with a smile. "I think Mary really would like it. She always hoped I could step out of my comfort zone and try new ways of expressing myself." Nicole let out a sigh of relief, then hesitantly asked, "Professor George, may I ask you a personal question?" "What is it?" "When you faced the woman impersonating Professor Nicole, how did you see through her? I mean, from the news reports, she seemed like an exact copy of Professor Nicole." I pondered for a moment. Superficial resemblance is easy to achieve, but a true personality cannot be duplicated. Mary's perception of art, her attitude toward life, the way she handled details, these were all unique. Just like a work of art, Nicole mused, no matter how perfect a replica is, it can never capture the soul of the original. Exactly. We worked through the night again, and finally established the overall framework for the Rebirth series. 7 pieces, each blending elements of painting and jewelry, together telling a story of loss and recovery, death and rebirth. As our collaboration deepened, my relationship with Nicole gradually shifted from teacher and student to partners, both mentor and friend. Sometimes, when the light traced the gentle contours of her focused profile, I would unconsciously think of Mary. But soon, I realized that this association wasn't due to any physical resemblance, but rather that same dedication and passion for art. "George, you look much more spirited lately," Frank remarked at a gathering. "It's been a while since I've seen you so full of life." "Yeah, the new project has helped me rediscover the joy of creating." "Nicole's a good girl," Frank said meaningfully. "Talented, and she really understands you." I understood his implication, but just smiled without responding. There was indeed a special understanding between Nicole and me, but it was more rooted in our shared passion for art than anything else. At least for now. The creation of the Rebirth series took 3 months, longer than expected, but the results were stunning. Each piece was a perfect fusion of painting and jewelry art, offering both the pleasure of viewing as a flat image and the discovery of 3-dimensional effects brought by the jewelry elements from different angles. A week before the exhibition opened, I received an unexpected visitor, Luna. She had served her sentence and was released early. She looked much more haggard than the last time we met, but her eyes were clearer. "I came to apologize to you in person." She stood at the studio door, her voice low, "for everything I have done." I didn't respond immediately, but simply invited her in to sit down. "I know that an apology can't make up for the loss," she continued, "but I want you to know that I truly regret it." "How is your sister's illness?" I asked. She looked up in surprise. You know. I guessed. "You said you needed money for a reason, and I think that must have been true." "Yes," she nodded. "My sister's surgery was a success, and now she's fully recovered. For the past 3 years, I've been thinking about how to make up for my mistakes, even though I may never be able to." I was silent for a moment, then said, "You know, in a way, your appearance actually helped me." "What do you mean?" "It forced me to confront the past, to re-examine my memories with Mary, and ultimately to find a way forward." I pointed to the sketches of the Rebirth series on the wall and briefly explained this new project. Luna listened quietly, a look of genuine respect in her eyes. "I'm glad you were able to find a new beginning from that nightmare," she said at last. "I hope I can find my own path to rebirth as well." As she left, she handed me a small package. "These are some simple pieces of jewelry I made in prison. The craftsmanship is rough, but each one represents my remorse and blessings. I hope you can accept them." Opening the package, I found several small trinkets handmade from fine wire and colorful glass beads. Though simple, it was clear the creator had poured their heart into them. Nicole happened to come into the studio at that moment. Seeing the trinkets, she asked curiously, "What are these?" I told her about Luna's visit. "You forgave her?" Nicole was a bit surprised. "Not exactly forgiveness," I said thoughtfully. "It's more like understanding. Everyone has their own hardships and choices. What's important is how we learn and grow from our mistakes." Nicole nodded pensively, picking up a piece of jewelry to examine it closely. "The craftsmanship is rough, but the concept is ingenious. This person seems to have a talent for design." "Perhaps," I said. "Everyone has the possibility of being reborn." On the day of the exhibition opening, numerous figures from the art and jewelry worlds gathered together. The Rebirth series received unprecedented acclaim. Critics called it a model of cross-disciplinary art, and the gallery owner was overjoyed, announcing plans for a nationwide tour. In the crowd, I saw Luna. She was dressed simply, standing quietly in a corner, admiring the exhibits. Our eyes met in the air. She nodded slightly, then walked away. "Who was that?" Nicole asked, standing beside me. "Someone searching for rebirth," I replied. Nicole seemed to understand and asked no more. We stood side by side before the pursuit, watching the blood amber refract a strange light under the lamps, like the silent burning of life's flame. "Thank you," I whispered to Nicole. "Without you, this series might never have come into being." "It was your philosophy that guided us, teacher Nicole," she replied modestly. "I was just fortunate enough to be the messenger." In that moment, I suddenly understood the true meaning of what Mary had written in her letter. Love has changed its form. Love exists not only in memory and longing, but also in inheritance and innovation, shining brightly in every spark of artistic creation. And I, at last, had learned how to begin anew after loss, to embrace rebirth while still searching. The success of the exhibition exceeded everyone's expectations. In just 1 month, the Rebirth series was reported on by major media outlets and even attracted the attention of the international art world. A renowned auction house extended an olive branch to me, hoping to include several pieces in their annual highlight auction. "This is an unprecedented opportunity," Frank said excitedly. "If the deal goes through, you'll become a top player in the contemporary art market." I wasn't particularly concerned with commercial success, but I did feel the joy of having my work widely recognized. More importantly, this series opened up a new artistic path for me, freeing me from the creative shackles of the past 3 years. Nicole benefited as well. As the project's jewelry design consultant, she received high praise from the industry. Several well-known jewelry brands reached out to her, hoping she would join their design teams. "Which offer are you planning to accept?" One night, as we were tidying up the studio together, I asked her. "To be honest, I'm still hesitating." Nicole paused her work. "These are all great opportunities, but..." "But what?" "But I want to keep working with you." She looked straight into my eyes. Rebirth is just the beginning, isn't it? Her candor surprised me a little. Indeed, the success of this series had opened up many new creative possibilities for us, but I wasn't sure if I should continue such a close working relationship. You should consider your own career development, I said tactfully. These opportunities are very rare for young designers. Nicole seemed to sense my hesitation and nodded gently. I understand. In the days that followed, we were both busy and rarely had the chance to talk alone. A week later, Nicole told me she had decided to accept an invitation from a French jewelry brand and would be going to Paris to work for 2 years. Congratulations, I said sincerely. It's a very good choice. Thank you, she replied with a smile, though a fleeting, elusive emotion flashed in her eyes. I think this is the best arrangement for both of us. Before Nicole left, we held a small farewell party. Frank, the curator, and a few mutual friends came. The atmosphere was warm, tinged with a hint of sadness. After a few rounds of drinks, Frank found an opportunity to pull me aside. Are you really going to just let her go like this? What do you mean? I pretended not to understand. Don't play dumb, man, Frank said bluntly. You have feelings for her. That's obvious. That's just professional rapport, I argued. Is that so? Frank looked at me meaningfully. Then why have you been so distracted ever since she decided to go to France? I was at a loss for words. In fact, these past few days I had indeed felt an inexplicable sense of loss, but I kept telling myself it was only because I had lost an excellent partner. I know what you're worried about, Frank lowered his voice. You feel like you're letting Mary down, don't you? I remained silent. He had touched upon the deepest concern in my heart. Mary has been gone for 3 years now. Frank gently patted my shoulder. She would want you to be happy. After the party ended, I walked Nicole home. The night was tranquil as water, and the city lights flowed around us. Thank you for your help and guidance these past few months. Nicole stopped at the entrance of her apartment building. This experience has meant so much to me. I should be thanking you, I said sincerely. Without you, the Rebirth series would never have been completed. We fell into silence, as if both searching for the right words to say goodbye. My flight is the morning after tomorrow, Nicole finally said. I still have some things to take care of tomorrow. So, this is probably the last time we'll see each other. 2 years will pass quickly. I tried to make my voice sound light. Paris is a beautiful city. You'll like it there. She nodded, a complex emotion flickering in her eyes. Professor George, there's something I've always wanted to tell you, but never found the right opportunity. What is it? I chose to study jewelry design because I saw Nicole's works. She took a deep breath, or more precisely, because I saw the pieces Nicole designed for you. The way she perfectly fused love and art moved me deeply. I didn't know that, I said in surprise. I've always hoped that one day I could be like Nicole, creating art filled with emotion. Nicole continued, her words coming faster, as if afraid she might lose her courage. But now I realize that what I want even more is to create for a specific person, just like Nicole created for you. I understood her implication, and my heart suddenly began to race. Nicole, please don't respond, she gently interrupted me. I just wanted you to know before I leave. No matter how you feel right now, remember that starting over is not a betrayal of the past, but a way of cherishing life. With that, she rose up on her tiptoes and softly kissed my cheek, then quickly turned and walked into the apartment building, leaving me standing alone in the night, my mind in turmoil. After returning home, I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, replaying Nicole's words and that gentle kiss over and over in my mind. Suddenly, I remembered a small box in the study, where Mary's last complete letter was kept, a letter I had found while sorting through her belongings. But at the time, overwhelmed by grief, I never had the courage to open. Now, I finally mustered the courage to walk into the study and retrieve that delicate little box from the depths of the drawer. Inside lay a pale pink letter, bearing Mary's familiar handwriting. Dearest George, by the time you read this letter, you may find yourself at a crossroads in life, hesitating between moving forward or staying where you are. My greatest wish is that you can move bravely through life, as freely as your brush glides across the canvas. Love is not a shackle, but a liberation. Memory is not a burden, but a source of strength. If one day you meet someone who can rekindle the light in your eyes, please don't hesitate because of your longing for me. True love is wishing happiness for the other, even if there is no longer a place for oneself in that happiness. Remember, the days we loved each other were complete, with no need for regrets. And now, it's time to paint a new picture, my beloved. Forever loving you. Mary tears blurred my vision. It was as if Mary had foreseen my current situation and had already given me her blessing. She was always like this, always able to see further and more clearly than I could. At that moment, I made up my mind. Early the next morning, I drove straight to Nicole's apartment. Professor George? Nicole opened the door in surprise, clearly not expecting me. I have something to say to you. I looked her straight in the eyes, not as your teacher, but as George. I handed her Mary's letter. Nicole read it carefully, her expression shifting from surprise to being moved, and finally, her eyes grew moist. She truly was an extraordinary woman, Nicole said softly, handing the letter back to me. Yes, she was. I nodded. That's exactly why I believe her words. Nicole, cancel your plans for Paris. Stay and continue our collaboration, will you? Nicole looked at me in shock. Are you serious? I've never been more serious, I said quietly. Rebirth is not just the name of an artwork, it's a possibility in life. Are you willing to explore that possibility with me? Her answer was a firm embrace, warm and real, like the first ray of sunlight after a long winter. In that moment, I felt as if Mary was somewhere, smiling down on us, blessing this new beginning. Life is like that blood amber, enduring countless ages of change and sedimentation, ultimately transforming into an eternal radiance. And I, at last, understood what true pursuit is, what true rebirth means. A year later, Nicole and I unveiled our second joint project, Interwoven, at the National Art Museum. This series was even bolder and more innovative than Rebirth, blending Eastern and Western aesthetics with various art forms. Critics hailed it as a significant breakthrough in contemporary art. At the opening ceremony, Nicole held my arm as we faced the media interviews and congratulations from the audience together. She wore a simple white dress, and around her neck was the Eye of Rebirth necklace we designed together. She completed the jewelry part based on my painting. Your collaboration seems even more in sync than your last project, a reporter asked with a suggestive smile. Nicole glanced at me, and we exchanged a smile. Yes, both in art and in life, we found the perfect balance. This indirect answer drew a round of good-natured laughter from the reporters present. My relationship with Nicole was no longer a secret, but we always kept a low profile, letting the public's attention remain focused on our artistic creations. After the exhibition, we drove out to a small hill in the countryside. There stood an ancient oak tree, beneath which Mary's ashes were laid to rest. This was the place we chose, rather than a traditional cemetery, natural, peaceful, just like Mary herself. Mary, the exhibition was a great success today, I said softly to the stone beneath the tree. Nicole's designs were admired by everyone, just as you once predicted. Nicole crouched down and placed a bouquet of white daisies in front of the stone. Teacher Nicole, I've been working hard to become the kind of designer you hoped I would be. I hope you can be proud of me. A gentle breeze stirred, and the oak's leaves rustled softly, as if it were Mary's reply. On the way back, Nicole suddenly said, I've been thinking about something. What is it? If that woman who pretended to be Ms. Nicole hadn't appeared, you might never have found the blood amber, never created the pursuit, and we might never have met. Her words made me fall into deep thought. Indeed, it was the series of events triggered by that deception that ultimately led to everything now. It feels as if, in the unseen, some force has been orchestrating it all. Perhaps that's the irony of fate, I said softly. Sometimes, the worst beginnings can lead us to the best endings. When I returned home, I received an unexpected package. Upon opening it, I found a delicate little box containing a handmade ring. Though simple, the craftsmanship had improved greatly compared to the pieces I had seen before. There was a note attached. Mr. George, thank you for your kindness and understanding a year ago, which gave me the courage to start over. Now I have found a job at a small jewelry shop, and my life is gradually getting back on track. This ring represents my gratitude, and I wish you happiness and well-being on your new path. Luna, I handed the ring to Nicole. After examining it carefully, she remarked, her skills have improved a lot. She truly is talent. Some mistakes in life shouldn't become permanent scars, I sighed. Everyone deserves a second chance. That night, we sat in the studio, discussing ideas for the next series. Nicole suddenly proposed a bold idea. I was thinking, maybe we could try connecting the different stages of our work to create a complete narrative. From eternity to quest, then to rebirth, and intertwined, They're actually different phases in a person's life journey. You mean? A complete story about loss, searching, rebirth, and integration, she explained excitedly, ultimately asking what is the most precious treasure in life. Love. I finished her sentence. No matter what form it takes. Nicole nodded, her eyes sparkling with creative fire. We could call it the forms of love, an unprecedented artistic exploration. Sounds like a long-term, ambitious project. We have time, she smiled, holding my hand. We have so much time. In that moment, I felt a powerful surge of creative inspiration, just like when I first began my artistic career years ago, filled with passion and possibility. But this time, I was not facing the blank canvas alone. 2 years later, the Forms of Love series was exhibited simultaneously in the world's 5 greatest art museums, causing an unprecedented sensation. Critics called it a milestone in contemporary art history, blending painting, sculpture, jewelry design, and other art forms to create an entirely new artistic language. The final piece of the exhibition was titled Eternal Ring, a massive circular canvas depicting every form of love in life, familial, platonic, romantic, and the love for art itself. The edge of the canvas was inlaid with gemstones of various sizes, and under certain lighting, these gems would cast light onto specific parts of the canvas, revealing another hidden layer of patterns. The centerpiece of this work is a massive blood amber. Through intricate optical design, the light it projects perfectly outlines 2 embracing figures. One is Mary, the other is Nicole, symbolizing the intersection of past and present, the fusion of memory and rebirth. On the closing day of the exhibition, in front of the Eternal Ring, I knelt on one knee and proposed to Nicole. The ring was crafted from the very blood amber Mary had once prepared for me, designed by my own hand and fashioned by the finest jeweler. This ring carries the memories of the past and the hopes for the future, I whispered softly. Nicole, will you be the eternal ring in my life? Her tears sparkled under the spotlight. I will. Amidst the cheers, I remembered what Mary once said. Love does not disappear. It merely changes its form. Yes, love does not disappear. It exists in memories, in art, in every rebirth and new beginning. It traverses time and crosses space, like that blood amber which, after millions of years, still shines, forever retaining the original warmth and brilliance of life. This is the answer I have been searching for all along. Between loss and gain, between seeking and rebirth, love remains constant, only appearing in different forms along the journey of life. And all we need to do is bravely accept this gift, no matter how it comes to us. On the day of the wedding, the sky was a clear, washed blue. Beneath the ancient oak tree that had watched over Mary, we exchanged our vows. A gentle breeze stirred, making the leaves whisper as if blessings were drifting in from another world. No matter when or where, Nicole said softly, we'll always remember that it was she who brought us together. Yes, I squeezed her hand, and we will always cherish this gift. In the brilliant sunlight, the blood amber ring gleamed, radiant as life itself, enduring the passage of time, yet still shining bright.